to scramble to talk about Star Wars this week. Revenge of the Fifth, anyone?
That was great.
What
That
a...
was.
Oh my god.
You're already starting. Please don't.
I'm trying.
I'm over it. We're
Sorry.
past this in our life.
I don't know what you want from me. Welcome to the show, everybody. We got a fun one this week.
This is exciting.
This is a great one.
I'm afraid it's going to be very long.
Yeah, me too. Me too. There's a reason why we're starting a little earlier.
Yes, for sure.
But yeah, no, this is going to be a lot. We're going to really get into it this week with a debate.
We're going to the courtroom.
Yeah, going to the courtroom. How's your guys' weeks? Purvis, Jasper?
Decent. Nothing's really going on with me. I lied. I straight up lied. I'm going to London next week.
Yeah,
so
you are. Yeah, you're not going to be on the podcast next week.
Yeah. So you guys are taking over. And
yeah. So we're going to be doing a deep dive into Daniel Caesar. I'm trying to pick like what would make it.
That would not make me happy. I'll be honest.
It's like we're gonna give it very low ratings, so the official unpaid nobody score is very low.
I will literally join the call at like midnight in London, so I could be like, "Yeah, no, you guys are all wrong."
He's gonna join in from a telephone booth.
Yeah,
literally.
It's gonna be like, "Hey, yo."
Cheerio.
I'm gonna get all the slang down. I can't wait to just be yelling absolute British nonsense.
Are you gonna be like, "Oh, give me that whoa bottle"?
It's going to be great. I'm gonna come back and you're gonna want to kill me or stab me. Honestly, that's what they do over there.
Drillagram.
Yeah, do a drillagram.
I will order a drillagram specifically to come into our job.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Thank you.
Of course. How do you feel? How's your week?
I'm doing good. I turned 31 on Saturday, so
back to back.
Yeah, May's just filled with birthdays. Everyone in my life has a birthday in May.
It's a busy month.
Birth May.
Oh my god. This is
we got to start over. We got to start over.
We got to start the podcast over. We got to throw this entire account out.
It's like, no, turn the video off.
What if my computer just shut down at that point? Just like, no, ceasing to process information and electricity. Sorry. Like,
the sun cannot envelop the earth fast enough.
It just doesn't work.
Big look at the map. Look at Russia and yell, "Do it!" vibes.
Go to the airport, look at the board, pick a place, and go.
Yeah.
Essentially what I'm doing.
Just dartboard, be like, and I'm going to Somalia. Great.
Let's say I'm not coming back from London now. That's essentially what just happened.
Yeah. You're going to go over there and eat eel pie for the rest of your life.
I would rather die. I'm not even going to lie, not even trying to be funny. I looked up the breakfast at the place I'm staying. They eat beans in toast.
Yeah,
for breakfast.
Yeah, dude,
it's like a
thing.
It's not a meme.
It's the land that God forgot. They colonized the whole world, and that's
except themselves.
Yeah, and that's what you go. You have India in your corner. You're having beans on toast.
The whole country eats like the Germans are still flying overhead.
Yeah, dude. And
I don't like.
Dude, the worst thing is they think it's gross that we eat peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and it's like those.
You have what is it? Marmite.
Marmite and a king. We don't have kings over here because we're fucking cool. Like,
pretty fucking cringe, dude.
We even stole their Nando's, which is like the only good part about England.
No, yeah, Nando's is dope. I'll give them that. I'll give Nando's and football. I'll give them that. But like everything else about England, hard pass. Where all the bad things in the world come from.
I'll take an Aston Martin.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's Martin.
All of Europe is just.
I'll take a V8 Vantage that will inevitably break down on me.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's actually very true. That's real. That's too real almost. I have a Jaguar.
Yeah. Shots fired.
That's why
Sorry, shots have not been fired. I stabbed you with my unregistered butter knife.
Yeah.
Literally. But anyway, enough about.
I take the bus. They got those in England.
And they're better actually. That I will give them.
Yeah. Oh, their healthcare. Oh, Because I hope you break your leg over there. Like
they might actually heal me. For
they
free.
will. My dad has one of the reasons why my dad's like into universal healthcare is he had a cabin in Canada when he was a kid in like the late 60s, or like our family did, and he falls and like hurts his leg. He has to get stitches, and they just stitch him up and they don't charge him anything. And they're like, we don't have anything to offer you. No, you just come in. You need stitches. You get them. Right.
It's on the house. Jasper, I know you had a joke cooked up. I can tell.
Getting hurt in England be like she wrote on my Abby till I visit the NHS.
Oh my god.
Purvis, you better go take a picture in front of Abbey Road. I swear to God.
I literally had a conversation with my guy that I'm going with.
Is it Patrick?
It is Patrick.
I hope he listens to this on the flight over.
We considered going to find Abbey Road, and I was like, it is so out the way, and it is a crosswalk. I just
then do the actual studio. Don't do the actual studio is tight. It's a music studio.
Is it open to the public?
They do tours, I'm pretty sure. And they still use it too. It's tight. A lot of cool shit has been recorded there recently.
Yeah, Brockhampton did Ginger there.
Oh, why'd you guys tell me that? Stop talking. I already have a booked schedule.
You're gonna go see Diplo?
I will be seeing Diplo.
Like a white man.
I'm going to be immersed with the whites.
You're going on a pure immersive experience. You are the Caucasian. You are the Jane Goodall of Caucasians.
It's insane because, like, I was also talking about this. So marijuana is illegal, and so everyone just gets stupid drunk. Like, there's a pub on every corner.
Yeah.
The Diplo concert ends at 4 a.m. And I told Patrick, I'm like, I'll go till I like pass out, but after that, it's over. I can't imagine.
Europe goes hard. 4 a.m. Europe goes hard.
You know what you need? When that happens, when that gets out at 4 a.m., you need to go find one of the kebab stands. You need to order kebab. That's the tradition.
Interesting. Okay.
Just the fattiest, greasiest kebab by a guy who calls you boss.
Yeah.
All right, but I trust him. I would trust him with my life.
Everyone who serves food at night is a hero in my eyes.
Look, the Hispanic mom outside of the metro. Look, keep selling tacos, dude. We love you.
The diner grill over here, where I pop in, like, yo, it is 3:30 in the morning and I am sloshed. Can I please have some pancakes? And they're just like $4, and it's like sick. I would love that.
Sold American.
I trust you with my life.
All right, shall we start talking about music?
Yes, absolutely. We have a couple of news.
Yeah, not a whole lot of releases this week.
No, absolutely right. I feel like the biggest thing isn't even hip hop related. No. Daft Punk is coming out with the Random Access Memories, the 10-year anniversary edition. Jasper,
yeah, we I know you want to go. It was announced, right?
It has already been pre-ordered. I already have it on the way.
Jesus Christ, vinyl?
Of course. I have the original right over here, and I'm gonna do both. Where is it? So we were just talking about doing some record frames, prior to the call, and I'm thinking this, and then maybe the deluxe edition, both framed.
Ooh, that's dope.
That'll look good.
I actually like that idea.
Like side by side over my big like speaker system in the other room.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
that'll look good.
I like that. And I could be mistaken because it's kind of off of memory. Didn't they say it was going to be like unreleased tracks or something like that?
Yeah, there's 30 minutes of new music.
Yeah. Okay. I'll listen to that tomorrow morning.
Hey.
Yeah, that's probably the only thing coming out this week that I'm like hyped to listen to.
Well, Lil Durk is also coming out with an album called Almost Filled, and there's a feature with J. Cole.
Okay.
That wasn't enough, then there you go.
Okay, I'll listen to the song that has Jermaine?
Cole?
Jermaine.
We're not doing this on the podcast. I'm surprised we haven't done
this. I cannot believe we are 63 episodes in before we did the Jermaine Cole bit.
This is something that, like, this is our first year of, like, knowing each other. We would do this.
Jermaine Cole.
Only our longest bit.
Like, one of our oldest bits. Like,
was that
easily a year? Huh?
Is that RDC World that originally did that?
I have no idea. Comedian. There was someone that said something similar, and then we just started doing that.
We just took it around with it.
There was definitely someone on the internet did something similar, and then
it is RDC World, 100%.
Yeah,
he was wearing the do-rag, and J. Cole was dropping. He's just like, Jermaine, Cole, Forest Hill, and he's just losing his mind.
Forest Hill, Platinum No features.
We can't bring this to the podcast because we won't stop doing it. Moving on, we have other albums. Deontay Hitchcock came out with Once Upon a Time. It is already out, actually. Slept on artist, in my opinion, but I love his music. I think it's phenomenal. His last album, damn near, I give it an A myself. And then we have Chavo coming out with Chavo's World 3. I also listened to his last album, which was a collab with Pierre Bourne, super big producer. Great project, in my opinion. Moving on to the singles, we have Chase B featuring a lot of people. Travis Scott, Quavo, Don Toliver, Ty Dolla $ign, probably more people that aren't mentioned, and the song Ring Ring. Yeah. Super excited
That's
for that.
a massive...
Yeah. The entire group came out, essentially.
Yeah, that is the Avengers of annoying white people rage music. Like...
that we all listen to.
That we all look. I like it. I don't know about Chase B, but I listen. Yeah, I listen to all 4 of those artists, 100%. Like
I don't. Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know if I would put Don Toliver and Ty Dolla $ign in the white rage camp.
Oh, I don't know. I saw Don Toliver at Lala last year.
Like, I was gonna say Don. I would. Ty Dolla $ign. I would.
Like I would.
I did not.
Yeah, I would. Look, I don't remember when, but at some point we're seeing Don Toliver again. So we'll see if that holds true.
It was like June 20th.
I can literally give you the exact date.
It's I put it in the doc. We have it here.
Yeah.
June 20th.
Yep, June 20th.
I just feel like he gets the trickle down fan base of Travis Scott, which is self-explanatory.
Yeah.
They pulled up.
Yeah.
Lil Tecca also is coming out with Needed Me. Almost forgot he existed. I hope he's doing well, honestly.
Yeah.
And then I kind of missed this. Jasper, is this something you threw in the Juice WRLD?
It is.
Ooh, yeah. What's going on? What's going on? I missed
this. There's no news on this yet, but I have it from a reliable source that there's a new Juice WRLD album on the way. His mom, who is the primary on the estate, has already signed off, and we're going to be getting more tracks.
Okay. I'm going to stay hopeful, but my expectations are.
Look, I want it to be something I can love unironically. That's what I want to happen.
Unironically.
Yeah, no, it's hard to feel good about this, man. It really is.
It's true. A lot of
like I understand that, like, luckily in this conversation that we have about artists who pass and they're like releasing music after, I mean, I guess the good news is that we do have some kind of standard, and like, is it the family, the people, who are around him, do they approve of this thing? And like, that's definitely better than nothing, but it's like, ugh.
Even still at
a certain point, because like, family do shit to each other all the time.
This is true. This is very true. But I'll stay hopeful. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I'll stay hopeful. I'll give it a listen if it happens. But yeah.
We also have a lot of
we have some
AI stuff.
Yeah, a lot of. Well, the Timbaland thing is definitely something we got to talk about. Did we all see the clip?
I posted it somewhere.
Yeah,
I saw it.
Yeah.
I have mixed feelings, honestly, and
yeah, I mean,
I don't know,
like,
there's a lot that goes into it. I just feel like
on some ends I have mixed feelings, and on some ends my feelings are very clear and very crystallized. Like,
it's just, I don't know. You go first because I know you're very passionate about it.
Well, no, it's just like, well, one, I'll say this, like, you could definitely tell, like, the artistry that goes into the production is really going to be a make or break on this kind of thing. And when you have a producer at Timbaland's level,
huge,
it's gonna have, like, it's gonna sound good to a certain extent. So like, yeah, I do think, like, as a song, like as a snippet, it doesn't sound bad. Like I think like as a song, it sounds pretty good. I don't think from the clip you can hear, don't think you can really judge the quality of like the AI magic trick. I think it sounds pretty convincing, but it's also, you know, the other thing, and this is something that I've think as this stuff, as we're living with it now, a few weeks, a month or so, I think this is a phenomenon that I think a lot of people are more talking about, and that is that it's more than just the quality of the voice, right? I forget who it is, but Biggie makes a very contemporary reference in the snippet.
That's what I pointed out.
And it's like...
It sounds good, but
then
like
the second you hear that, it doesn't matter how good it sounds. There's something...
It's impossible.
Yeah, it's impossible.
He brings up Pop Smoke and Nipsey Hussle and somebody else that passed away recently.
Yeah.
Because he's talking about just like artists that have passed away.
Yeah.
And it's just like, okay, this is cool. I'm not gonna lie, this is cool. It's dope. I like the idea. Timbaland always wanted to work with him. You get somewhat of a dream, but it's also like this.
But like, who is he though?
Literally, is something that Biggie could not have.
But like, who is he to like get to revive this dead man? And like, you know, I think that's the thing. I think it is very gross. Like, I think it's just a gross thing to do morally, to just use someone's voice without their permission. And I think it's compounded when that is a dead person. You know, is this showing respect to a real human being who has died and passed?
It all depends on the point of view. I feel like, because I do understand what you're saying. In a way, this could be seen as disrespectful, but I feel like at least in this specific situation, it could be a one-off. It is done with well intentions, and it's not like this is the version that we're seeing it. But that, like, AI is relatively new, but like sampling music, selling music, things like that is not something that's new in our culture.
No, not necessarily. You're right, but I feel like this is a step beyond sampling. I think that it would be very, very dishonest to compare those two things. And, you know, the other thing is, fuck, I completely lost it. There was something you said and I wanted to rebut. And it's just, I don't know. I'll let it go. But yeah, that's my thing. I think like, yeah, as a song, it sounds pretty good. Like Timberland knows how to make a beat. He knows how to put things together. It sounds good and you can tell that. But it's just like, I just think it's gross. I think it's very, very gross to do that to someone. You know, my position on AI has evolved as far as like its utility and what it can do. And I am certain there's spaces in the music industry where AI can be used ethically. But it's like, oh, that's what I was going to say. This is like the best it gets ethically, right? You say like, oh, this is good intentions. I mean, sure.
If he doesn't make
I don't
off of this, do you care?
Huh?
Or does it make it better? Just genuinely care.
I think it has to. I think that does make. I think that does make it like materially better if he never makes any money off of it. Yes.
Okay.
But I still think it's unethical. Like I still think it's unethical to use someone's like voice, their identity without their permission, and even with their permission, I think is like still kind of like. I think we should have a conversation about why people want to do that. But like, yeah, I think using someone's voice without their permission, I think there's a reason why everyone who's embraced AI technology has had to walk it back in that regard. Like, I don't know if you guys saw the Grimes thing, but
I do.
I think that's like a very clear example of like, you can't just use AI to crowdsource this. That's not going to be successful.
It's just one of those things that I feel like everything naturally needs limitations.
Yeah, no. Yeah, and like, look, I think machine learning is here to stay. I think AI tools, you know, I had a long conversation with my roommate who's a music producer, and like, you know, he has much harsher opinions on people using people's voices than we do. You know, he straight up says like, I think that should be illegal. Like, and but at the same time, like I talked to him, he's like, yeah, but like there's an AI tool in development that can like remove stems from songs that can make sampling so much easier and like really open the toolbox even more. And it's like, oh, well, that stuff I think is very cool.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so like I think there's a place for it, but I just don't think this is it. And like, I think the conversation's kind of settled on that.
Personally, look, I am okay with the song existing. I do understand the negative effects of it. It's one of those situations, and I know I've said this before, and I know it's kind of like a cop out for it. I just want to hear from like someone that would be in control of like Biggie's estate, for example.
Yeah.
Someone from there could actually give an opinion or a note or a small snippet video of something because it's very easy to take this out of context, which sometimes is necessary.
Yeah.
But like at the same time, it's like it's just a small snippet that he played on Instagram.
Yeah.
Hopefully, it's no big harm damage. But all that matters is what they say. They can come out and be like, "I hate this," instantly done with it.
Yeah. No, I don't think like this is necessarily doing damage per se. You know, I just think like it's, you know, is it good? Is it bad? And like that's obviously going to be up to everyone. But you know, then I think there's a good question of like, how are we looking at these problems? You know, and through what lens are we hoping to solve them? Because like this gets caught up, I think, really, really often on these two different concepts. And there's copyright law, which is a very flawed, archaic system in the United States. And then there's like the moral question of like using someone's identity without their consent. And it's like, I think we have to try our like, because those aren't the same thing, and they're being very coupled with this conversation. I think we need to actively try and separate them. You know what I mean?
I have a general question, and I want Jasper to answer it first because we have not talked about. I don't think any of us have talked about this. I was reading articles just about this scenario with the Timberland thing in general, and a lot of people were bringing up how Tupac had a hologram created for Coachella. He did not have it. Let me correct myself.
Yeah,
that is completely incorrect. There was a hologram of Tupac created for Coachella, and there was a ton of backlash for that. And that was as close as you got to this AI technology many years ago in 2012. Now, I don't know about you, but the Tupac that I know would not want a hologram of him at Coachella.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on that? Because that's not something that's AI really generated necessarily, but this was signed off and approved by his estate. So yeah, I guess Jasper, Brandon, what are your thoughts on that, for example? Because I feel like that was one of the main introductions of like, this isn't the artist at all.
It's tough. There's a balance to be struck between what is best for the integrity of a body of work and an artist's image as they were as authentic to how they were in real life. And there's also the potential benefit of exposing, say, for example, young people to or a new generation to a sound or a voice in some way, regardless of the theatrical elements of it or not. Now, the problem is that these are not equivalent at all, because to me, I look at the Tupac hologram, I see a CG model of Tupac from 2012, which does not look that much like him if you actually really look at it.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it looks like an homage or like I guess a kind of imitation, but it doesn't have the authenticity or the realism of something like
the AI voice.
Some of these songs that sound like it's just a person on a track.
Yeah.
Right.
So
yeah, no, I think that's definitely true. I definitely think, yeah.
It's just there's a difference between an artistic interpretation and something that blurs the lines between what is the original art and what is a lifting almost of the artist's hallmarks.
Yeah, I just wonder, like, who are like, what position does someone have to be in where they are making the calls on what actually is lifting an artist after they pass, right?
It's open to interpretation, yeah.
Because like the way I see it is like, because this entire industry of like recorded music is like so tied up in like private business and capital and ownership and copyright and all this stuff, that is leaving the opportunity for lifting it. I don't think I've ever seen that in my life. I think there have been artists who, I can name one where it's like, yeah, I think his legacy has been handled pretty well, and that's Mac Miller. But like, I think while we have a system that is only ever going to be focused on like, what can we provide with what we already have and extract the most money out of, because that's where all these things are tied up at the end of the day. I think we have to be honest that like, when we say lifting, 9 times out of 10, that's not going to be lifting. That's going to be pimping a ghost and just trying to draw money out of a grave.
And there's an important...
That's what I think the Tupac thing is. And go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to say there's an important point that I think you both kind of circled but didn't really get to when it comes to the Timbaland track, which is the fact that regardless of whether or not Timbaland is paid for this track existing, the fact is payment is not really the currency which this industry traffics in a lot of the time, and it's views, it's exposure. And the reason I wrote it this way, where he pretends to work with Biggie for internet clout, is because that's exactly what it is.
Yeah, I
he's
agree.
using the image of someone who does not have a say in the matter to enhance his own digital footprint, and to me, that is grave robbing.
Yeah, I mean, on one hand, I completely agree with you. I completely agree with you that like, it does not have to be about money for it to be grave robbing. On that point, completely agree. I do think once you start extracting dollars and cents, I think there is a specific kind of exploitation, almost in a Marxian sense, with that that there needs to be talked about, that just isn't there when you're talking about internet clout. You know what I mean? Because it has to do with like capital and all that stuff. But yes, I agree with you.
Agree with that.
I agree with your broader point. Yeah.
Well,
how do you measure exposure? Because like that is one of those things, especially when you talk about this industry and just art form as a general concept. And like, a lot of people are paid in exposure.
And like another thing is,
look at the views on live streams, right? Yeah. All of that is a residual that then directly results in some kind of monetary conversion. Just because it's not a direct payment doesn't mean that people aren't benefiting. There's conversion rates for live streams, for posts, for product placement, for everything. So anything that can grow a platform has the potential to generate revenue.
And I wonder... Go ahead, Purvis.
I was just going to say, because we are talking about it now, this is a perfect transition into the second AI thing, which was Snoop Dogg starting to speak about AI, starting to speak about streaming platforms.
Can I say one last point?
Just as a concept.
On the Tupac thing?
Yes.
Because like, there was one last point I wanted to get to, and that was when we talk about like bringing this music from the past to like a newer generation, I wonder how much this technology actually does that, right? Like, I wonder...
I personally became interested in Tupac after seeing that performance.
I get that, right? But I still think there are things that happen that are still even much more significant. Like, I think about the fact that the Beastie Boys had a song in the new Guardians of the Galaxy movie, and now they have 10 times as many streams as Run the Jewels, right? Like, there are already cultural things in place here that don't desecrate the legacy of these artists, that already do that, And like, I get that, like, a Guardians of the Galaxy movie is maybe a little bit of a glib example, but I think it's a valid one.
Totally.
It's just tough because the Beastie Boys are still around to have a say in it.
That's a fair... Well, 2 of them are.
Oh, yeah, obviously. Yeah. But I'm just saying that it does add into...
And obviously, like, approving a needle drop in a movie is a much different
right.
conversation than releasing an unreleased song or using someone's voice. But it is still a mechanism by which people who weren't there in the first place can learn about the music of the past.
Mm-hmm. I think technology does. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say one thing that is authentic about the Tupac performance is the fact that it was an interpreted 3D model that was then projected onto the screen at Coachella, but it was designed using motion capture footage of him where they recreated his movement through music videos that were taken, and they actually did play the original tracks. So there was no serious
stolen or modified.
Yeah, it was an artistic interpretation of his image for the sake of representing it in 3D space, but all of the actual art and content of it is original. That's a big difference here as well.
I do think that's a big difference. I do. I still think it can still be kind of gross, but yes, I think that is a substantial moral difference. Yes.
Mm-hmm. I feel like technology, in terms of how we use it, does a better job at preserving the past than recreating it. With many examples, whether it be the Tupac one, you finding out or diving more into Tupac because of the hologram.
Yeah, because I was interested in the technology, the way it worked.
Exactly.
And that was kind of like the gateway. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Or even, I didn't grow up in a time where I knew Michael Jackson. Yeah, it just was before my age. But he's the biggest star there is. So, like, obviously, because of technology being able to preserve what he's done in the past, I was able to go back and experience that with what we have now.
Yeah. And like something like streaming, for all of its ills, is really effective at giving people access to music that isn't like in the cultural zeitgeist.
100%.
Yeah, it's kind of like the exact opposite of like the history of rare books, right? Rare books for the last 100 years have been this very walled off and gate-kept hobby where you see collectors spend thousands or tens of thousands of dollars on editions of books that either are out of print or out of circulation, or it's just a rare edition that is not available. Now, it is very democratic in the way we can access music and other content for very little money relative to some of the costs of exposure to media in the past or in other mediums.
I don't know. I have a deep philosophical problem with describing any kind of like exchange, any kind of like commerce as democratic.
Well, more participatory. Participatory.
Sure. It's just like, because this is like democratic, then it's like, and then who has the most votes? Like,
sure. Yeah.
Like, but yeah, no, that's definitely true. But do we want to move on to our resident hero, uncle of the podcast, official uncle, like
official uncle? You talking about Snoop Dogg?
Yeah, I'm talking about Snoop Dogg.
But yes, I was going to transition into it.
Hold on, stop. Does that make us Nick Cannon?
No, it does not make us Nick Cannon. Stop it.
Like, are you sure? Do each of us have 4 children we don't know about?
More than 4.
I'm keeping that to myself. Thank you very much. Like,
okay.
Hey, yo.
I just see your girl jump in the camera.
She's on her way here too. Like, listen,
she
man,
knows.
it's just for a long time.
Black women know. They have a feeling. She's just gonna come in with like.
I used to have a bit in my stand up where it was like, I think the most effective form of birth control is deleting phone numbers. Like,
true. My fuckboy sense is tingling.
True. Yeah. Like, really effective.
Like, that one got Purvis. That one got Purvis. Goddamn.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to use that. I'm gonna have to use that. There's no way. Sorry. Anyway, yes, Snoop Dogg. What I was going to transition into earlier. He has also came out speaking about AI, speaking about streaming platforms and how they work. He also did touch on the WGA strike, which is very nice to hear.
Yeah, no, we have full support to the WGA strike right now.
Love Uncle Snoop.
Yeah.
But yeah, essentially he did touch on some of these topics as well, just because AI is just in the air right now. It's one of those things that cannot be fully explained. and it can go a lot of different directions depending on who you're asking.
Yeah.
And like you mentioned earlier, just like with streaming platforms, exposure is a real thing in this industry, and it does pay well. But it's like, how do you quantify those numbers?
Yeah.
Because he even speaks about it. You have artists out here getting millions, millions, and millions, and millions of listens and views, and it's like, okay, what are the millions of dollars? How does this translate? So it's just one thing interesting that you know all of these artists are going through at the time. They're thinking about it as he's bought Death Row and he is now the leader of it. These are real things that you need
Yeah.
to take into consideration as
Very
an
real.
artist. So really dope to see. Finally, I literally, when I saw the post,
Yeah.
pretty sure I sent it to Brandon, and I was like, finally. It was
Yeah,
like
no,
the
because
fun got
it
me.
is exactly what we've wanted. Because, like, look, I consider myself a creative, but I'm not an artist, like, at a high level, you know? Like, and I wanted to see what the people who I think are kind of the most threatened by AI, as far as, like, from a labor perspective, I want to see what they're thinking. And, like, this is the closest, this and the Timberland thing is the closest thing we've seen to, like, conversation about it. And I
Two
think,
very different
and
perspectives.
it's two very, very different perspectives. And, you know, I personally, I'm all with Snoop Dogg. I actually don't think he was that harsh on AI in the statement you sent
No,
me.
he wasn't. He really wasn't.
He seemed to be talking way more about streaming platforms and support for the WGA strike, which, like, full disclosure, I think are equally as important issues. I've been trying to get you to watch some more news video about Spotify for several months, because I think I've put it into Discord at least once. Just because, like, yeah, I think, like, there's a genuine question on, like, is streaming music something where, like, you can, like, charge a fair price to, like, the people who use it and pay the people who make the art a fair price? Like, is that even possible?
I think so, easily, in my opinion.
Well, yeah,
And,
I
like,
do. I
obviously,
do too. I do
Right.
too. But I think but, like, you're gonna have to trim that money somewhere else, and, like, you never trim it from the top, like.
This is true.
And,
This
like,
is
that's
right. This is very
clearly
true.
where that money would have to come from.
I mean, I feel like, yeah, the obvious answer is that all of the stakeholders that gain millions of dollars by
Yeah.
investing into Spotify is
Yeah.
obviously that's where it needs to be cut.
And let's not
Because if you
forget.
cut
Yeah.
10% of theirs, which is not a lot to them, would be a lot for everyone else.
Yeah. Yeah, it's something like how, like, you know, like, it's it was like something like 10% of, like, the bonuses for, like, studio executives would cover the demands for the WGA writer strike.
Yep.
It's like, you know, so it's
Come
nice to see Snoop Dogg out here, like, in solidarity. Like, I think the writer strike is super important right now. I totally think there's been an overall decline in the writing of a lot of shows as we've switched into the streaming era.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a lot of shows that came out during COVID had a very material downgrade.
Yeah,
and you could
like,
tell.
I was very excited for the Wheel of Time show because I'm a giant fucking nerd.
Yeah,
and, like, it did not. It had some cool parts, but it was very clearly interrupted by COVID.
the amount of media that I consumed, like visual media, that you could really tell that the script was written by people who had exchanged it back and forth over the internet and not actually read it aloud or, like, proofed it in a dialogue sense.
Ooh, that's a good point.
Is high, because 2020 and onward, you see so much more content that has such an overly formal writing style for the way people actually talk to each other, and it's very much because it was written on paper and it was never actually,
talked
orated.
out.
Verbally said.
Yeah.
Never. And
That's
it's
real.
just, it makes me so mad because
And-
I get to, like, some really cringe line in a show. I'm like, it takes me out of it immediately. I'm like, no, why would you say that?
I'm done with this.
And believe it or not,
no one talks like this.
And believe it or not, I actually think that theory, I think, also supports why some things haven't degraded as much. Like, I think of, like, an Aaron Sorkin project. We've gotten a few of those since 2020. And
Brandon, I don't know what that is.
Aaron Sorkin's a writer. He wrote Trial of the Chicago 7 and the movie about Lucille Ball. He's like he like runs on cocaine. He did The Social Network and The West Wing and A Few Good Men. Do you know this? You know, like that.
Okay.
You Can't Handle the Truth. He wrote that.
I want the truth.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like he's like one of the greatest screenwriters in Hollywood history, and he obviously has a process, and he's released stuff in COVID, and like I think it's clear he's the exception to the rule, and that would make sense because like who's he bouncing the email with? He's always just doing it with himself.
Dude, if John Mulaney went through the trials and tribulations of John Mulaney during COVID, no one is safe. Like it could be you.
Yeah,
it could be you.
It will be me.
That's
but yeah, no, I support the WGA strike. I think what he said about AI is true, but I didn't think it was all that damning and all that substantive.
Mm-hmm.
But like, not like a bad thing. I just think, he was clearly talking about streaming and the writer's strike, and I think those are massively important issues in and of themselves.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And now we have one last AI story, but unfortunately it's very relevant.
Well, Brandon, you told me about this. I didn't even know about this, and I'm so happy.
So I don't know about you guys, but I enjoy a good car wreck. And I don't think there's been a better car wreck in the past month than the Frank Ocean subreddit.
Yeah.
It does not look good.
Yeah,
you could say they drove in the ocean.
Stop it.
This is a car wreck you actually don't want to look at.
I'm gonna rig a water bottle to spray at you from my house. Let's just like
you see it building up. He's doing the thought process. Like,
we have to tell the audience. We have to tell the audience about the one that was in the Discord.
No, we don't have to.
Oh, I will. Don't worry.
But basically, like there were some Frank Ocean leaks, and obviously this is all at an Frank Ocean mania is at an all-time high following
mania.
Yeah,
they just got pranked Ocean.
Yeah, pranked. That was a good one. I'll give you that. That was a good one.
Pranked
Ocean was a good one. No,
Purvis is over
there.
Don't encourage him.
No, I'm sorry. I'm just calling balls and strikes on this, and prank Ocean was a good one.
It's just a prank, bro.
I'm sorry. Sorry. Okay. Like I'm just trying to be like. Anyway. So basically, people bought leaks that were like Frank Ocean leaks,
but they weren't
leaks. Well, apparently, like there were leaks that weren't confirmed to be AI, but like some of them were, and it's first up, this is a classic. Everybody sucks here. Like,
if you buy leaks, fuck you. You deserve this.
Yeah, no,
yes.
This
if you make the
buying
AI
leaks,
from Frank Ocean,
buying leaks,
that makes you morally on almost the same level as Martin Shkreli. Is that where you want to be?
Yeah. No, buying leaks is shitty behavior. Don't do it.
Making fake leaks and calling it AI, or making AI and calling it fake leak, like
it's a clear. Well, yeah, because like really, like we'll know if AI is here to stay, like as it's being adopted by scammers and spammers, because like that is always on the bleeding edge of any technology. That and pornography, and it's like, I mean, like everyone sucks here. The only thing is that I did see some people trying to rationalize it, like, oh, Frank makes people do this by not releasing music. It's like, no, fuck off.
No.
That's
Frank did nothing illegal and nothing immoral.
That is a
He's just
frankly
not releasing
childish opinion that anyone who has to take a bus to school should have matured past. Like
boom, roasted.
Like
Brandon, that's
No, it's valid because in elementary school we're taught you are responsible for your actions, no one else is.
Yeah.
That is
fair.
And you're responsible for your emotions. Nobody makes you
and
do
like,
anything
look,
or makes you feel a certain way.
And like
feel a certain way.
Really, and it kind of sucks because the victims here do suck. Like the victims are the people who spent money and like don't have it anymore. I just don't give a shit about those people because I think buying leaks is also bad behavior. Yes. Like, so
everyone lost and I'm winning.
When Brandon posted the link to this in the Discord, I said this makes me lose my self-control. And it's because every part of this pisses me off. The fact that this had to happen at all is just like,
Yeah, and
fuck
it's
you
just
for
like,
buying leaks. Fuck you for scamming people. And fuck you, Frank, for just like, I could see the next like excellent cash grab out of Blonded and Co. would be like, he then puts up those exact AI like edits as his own
That's
and
low
sells
key.
them.
That's exactly what I was about to say, because I've joked about this before, and I was like, what if Drake took like Heart on My Sleeve and played it at a tour? But like Drake wouldn't really do that because he has his own music.
That.
Exactly.
No. Drake wouldn't do that because Drake is bitter.
That is also fair.
No,
But,
I mean,
like, he has his own
anybody
music.
else.
Yeah, he's
like,
bitter that
totally
someone stole his identity. Like, aren't you wearing a mask? Like,
no, that's not the point. The point is he's bitter about the fact that somebody used like his sound, but the fact that he's not going to see the humor in the fact that he can get paid to play a song that he didn't make. That's
I feel like he would rather play freaking Search and Destroy 100 times than play Heart on My Sleeve.
Yeah,
just because like he can make his own music.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. I would love
like,
it.
It's my music.
I think if he's gonna go out there, like, you should play like the first 5 seconds of Heart on My Sleeve, and then play 30 hours. Like, just like stop it and then play 30 hours. Like, I think that's what you should do.
Full cut transition.
Like, I do really like the idea of artists being like, all right, if you're gonna make content for me, I might as well play it.
But then you wind up with the Grimes thing, where like half the songs are like filled with misogyny and racism. Like,
sure, well, you can't directly encourage it, but you can riff off of it and
pick and choose which one to take.
Yeah, it reminds me of it totally reminds me of when there was that thing in like 2002 where this guy put up a video of Prince performing on YouTube, or maybe it was YouTube. It was like early, and it got taken down because Prince is extremely protective about his copyright. But what he didn't account for was he wasn't playing his song in the video. He was doing a cover of Creep by Radiohead. And Radiohead got wind of this because it made the news. It was like the first time this had ever happened online, like one of the first times it's gotten like big. And Radiohead said, no, put that shit back up there. That's our song.
Yeah.
And it's like stuff like that, where it's like there's a humor and an irony in an artist like taking content that, or like taking their image from somebody else who's then misappropriated it and reappropriating it. I think that's fucking funny.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess it might be funny if you did it to like Jack Harlow or something. But like, I don't know. I guess like, and this might be just like the filthy socialist in me, but it's like, what happens when an artist that isn't Drake? What happens when this happens to someone like a Vince Staples? Or what happens when this happens?
Oh, Vince Staples, I feel like would stab someone.
Yeah, or like
no question.
Or someone like, I don't know, like I'm trying to.
Because the thing is, with Drake, like, you still have to protect your image.
Or like LP, someone who still lives in an apartment, like someone who doesn't have like the money Drake does, right? Because like it's not just a threat to Drake, and it's all like it's one thing when something's like a systemic institution or like a systemic thing that like only affects like the 1%, like a marginal tax increase, you know, that's one thing. But it's like, no, this is just opening a Pandora's box that is going to hurt the people with little and the people with like Drake are going to be completely insulated with it because he has a small army of lawyers. Like,
lucky for us, that is the theme of modern society for as long as I've been alive,
which is why we need to
that march down that path is going to happen regardless of how we all opine on it, unfortunately.
Revolution now. Like this is why I say that. Like, because it's like, sir, I have lived through 2 housing crises in my time. I'll have you know things will not get better. I mean, like you say,
that's real.
Like people say that, but remember, we got past the divine right of kings. Like, we used to live in a society where like the person who ruled us, we believed, was literally put there by God, and then we decided to be done with that, and then we cut some heads off in France. And like,
some people did not decide to be done with that.
Well, yeah, and those people were dealt with. Yeah, huh?
I said I'm pretty sure people think that about Trump still.
Think that. What about Trump?
Divine
He was
right?
placed
Yeah.
by God.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I obviously
Like it's always gonna be there.
Yeah,
Some people are meant to be governed. Who knows?
But my point is that was the status quo was no, our rulers are picked by God, and you are going to tend the fields and die at 30. Like like the world is what we decide for it to be. So revolution now is my point. Like,
look, our country was built off of manifest destiny. I don't believe anything.
I mean, our country
manifest that destiny.
Our country was built. No, our country was built off of revolutions. Man. Remember that.
Go West, young man. That's real. That's real.
Side note, Purvis, I sent that to David when he left for Arizona.
Are you serious?
I said, "Go West, young man, manifest that destiny," and I sent him the picture of the Divine Spirit painting where she's like lighting the way for everybody to go west to their covered wagons.
I just Googled it and I see it. Right.
I sent him that. I should have photoshopped his head on the lady, but I didn't. I just sent him the picture.
This is my first time ever Google searching manifest destiny. That is hilarious. Oh, Oregon Trail, we love it.
You shouldn't.
Look, the government showing up at your house before mine. Let's be honest here.
Oh, absolutely. I always tell Rachel, let me look out the windows. I need to see if there's a car out there. If she knows,
a van for a flower shop.
Yeah. There's a locksmith that always parks in front of me, and I don't think he's real.
FBI, open up.
They're just waiting for you.
They're gonna tap my phones. They know what I'm doing. They're listening right now.
Yeah.
Anyway,
they're watching this podcast.
We're watching the Unpaid Nobodies podcast.
What brought to you by?
I was just gonna say an ad break right now would be sick. Would
it be sick?
Yeah.
Who wants to put an ad?
Hold on a minute.
It's why don't you read some revolutionary text on Audible? You could read Das Kapital, Conquest of Bread, Steal This Book. I
don't know what to do anymore.
I do. I know exactly what to do.
No. Are you about to stream something?
No.
Okay.
I'm about to read to you an ad read for the center of our show.
For the center of our show? Wait, what?
I'm going to read you an ad read right now.
We have an ad read?
We do have an ad read.
Is this Chat GPT?
100%.
Yeah, cool. This is going to be great.
I'm grabbing my laptop. Hold on.
This episode is brought to you today by Mega Glow. Are you tired of feeling sluggish and worn out? Do you want to look and feel your very best every day? Look no further than Mega Glow. Mega Glow is the ultimate all-in-one solution to anyone looking to improve their health and wellness. With just one easy-to-take capsule per day, you'll experience a whole host of incredible benefits. Mega Glow is packed full of powerful antioxidants to help protect your cells from damage caused by free radicals. This means you'll be less susceptible to illness and disease. You'll feel more energized and alert than ever before. In addition to its antioxidant properties, Mega Glow also contains a unique blend of vitamins and minerals essential for maintaining optimum health. These nutrients work together to support healthy digestion, improve skin tone and texture, and boost your overall immune system. To try Mega Glow today at 15% off, head to their website, megaglow.com. Put in the code NOBODY for 15% off your first order.
That was valid.
I mean, I'm kind of having
an
existential crisis, reading ad copy from a robot. But
it's not like anything crazy, but that was valid.
Yeah. It was
what I really like doing is I like being able to do stuff like that where you could say in the style of blank and it'll do it.
Yeah.
I really like Linus Tech Tips, the tech YouTube channel, and I could do an ad read in the style of Linus Tech Tips, and it would just skim his video content and make one.
Yeah.
Jesus
I don't know.
Christ,
I thought it was a little long.
Oh, it was, but it's designed to be a 30-second spot. So.
Yeah.
Oh, that's valid.
Yeah. Is Mega Glow even real? Look your best deep into the revolution.
No, we're making Mega Glow now.
The actual prompt I put in was write an ad read for a fake product.
Ah, interesting.
Look, I'm just saying we're making
not
Mega
FDA
Glow,
approved,
and it's actually just materials for a bomb.
Hey,
we can trademark it.
Maybe Mega Glow is the password to our sleeper cell insurgent.
Mega Glow is brought to you by the crisp smell of gasoline.
Mega Glow is brought to you at underneath in the back corner of lower Wacker Drive. Our password is 6 Semper Tyrannis. All right. Do we want to move on?
Purvis is ready to go join a real podcast.
Yeah. Purvis is like, I should have done one of these about sports.
Look, at this point, my name's on it. It's just, I'm over it.
You own the majority of the company.
I own the majority of the company.
Yeah,
it is what it is.
This is technically your podcast. Brought to you by Mega Glow and Molotov cocktails at Cop Cars.
We support one of those.
The one that's real.
As someone who wants nice skin, Mega Glow.
Yeah.
Mega Glow. You never know.
As someone who wants a nice life.
Revolution now.
Yeah, revolution now. Anyway, speaking of comrades,
you're just gonna get revolution now and like tattooed on your body
at some point, yeah.
Just across the chest. Just rip off your shirt at a riot. Revolution.
I've started saying it at like the mildest inconvenience. Like today I went to the bagel shop and I'm like, oh, can I get a poppy seed and a cinnamon bagel? And they were like, we're out of cinnamon bagels. I'm like, revolution now. Like, they're a worker collective. They are the revolution. Like
over a bagel.
Like,
okay, we have to like get to the actual topic.
Yeah.
So let me just say the last two news. Doja Cat has described the last two albums as cash grabs.
Yeah,
which honestly is valid.
I mean, like,
be that surprised.
Someone, I saw someone say this because like I'm not on Twitter anymore. I'm not really on much social, and like people were saying like, oh, Doja Cat's acting like erratic. We should like maybe, like maybe she's going through something right now. Which like this is not like, because like whenever we hear like, oh, someone's going through something, they're saying like, oh, it's DEFCON 3 on Jewish people. Like right. This is not that inflammatory, like comparative to that. But so I just want like, even though I know she said this, I'm keeping it with a grain of salt is what I'm basically saying.
A woman is speaking her mind. Arrest her.
No, that's not what I'm saying. Like,
no, I'm not saying you are.
What is this, like 3 years ago?
I mean people who are like saying, "Oh, it's erratic." Like everybody check in. Like I don't know. Yeah, I think you can be candid without being erratic.
Yeah,
it's one thing to say I'm worried about Post Malone when he's like dying on stage, which seems to be might be the drugs, and then it's like calling this erratic. Like, come on.
No, I just think. I mean, I think it's part of like a larger thing of behavior. I think she's saying like a bunch of other things, and like it's like a large systemic thing.
That's like her.
I don't think this is like
she's
the
known to be wild and out there. That's part
true.
of Doja Cat.
She's a weird girl. That's her thing. She makes.
She came on the scene in a cow costume.
I did not think she was going to be like a real, let alone someone I legitimately enjoy. Like I did not think she was going to be like an actual artist. I thought she was a meme,
which is true. Yeah, she started out as a meme. That's valid. The other part of the news we do have to get through.
Yeah,
which actually is going to
this is super cool.
Our topic.
This is is my favorite. This is my personal favorite piece of news on that we have today.
Well, you're the one that really discovered it.
About, this is the only good news this week.
Yeah,
this is the only good news. Yes.
Yeah. Metro Boomin, who's working on the soundtrack to Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, sequel to probably the best Spider-Man movie. He's also going to be one of the Spider-Men. Like it's all about.
You know why?
What? Because he's
because not all heroes wear capes.
Spider-Man doesn't wear a cape. You're right. Except Doctor Strange Spider-Man. Like
it doesn't count. It's not canon. I'm playing.
It's canon in some universe, which I think is the whole point of this movie. But
Marvel has like 10,000 universes.
Yeah, Spider-Man is basically like a multiverse character now. Like there's just so many multiverses and everything.
They've owned up to it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's basically. Well, even for like the past 10 years, like long before the movies and Spider-Verse, like it's been like a multiverse kind of thing, because like it is. Like that was always the core thing that was always so cool about Spider-Man is that anyone could be Spider-Man,
You could be Spider-Man. That's the whole premise of Spider-Verse.
Like-
You could be Spider-Man.
Yeah,
You can't be Spider-Man.
yeah, I can't. Like
Donald Glover can't be Spider-Man.
No,
Remember?
we hate him. Like,
He's black. Kill him.
don't say that. Don't let them clip this. Don't.
I'm trying to quote. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Like,
Brandon, you had one before. Now, Jasper, you had one.
oh, what am I saying?
No, I'm
What am I saying? I'm
canceled.
saying that the working class should seize our destiny from the
No, no,
vultures
no.
who stole
You
it
said
by
something-
force, if necessary. Like, we have not gotten to the guns.
It's all falling apart. it's all falling apart.
We'll try again next week.
Anyway, Metro Boomin's in the Spider-Man
The personalities are coming out.
Yeah.
The hidden personalities are coming out.
And the walls are closing in.
Yeah.
It's one of those things. It's like, oh, your friend's running for president. Let's release the Xbox chat. It's just like, no, please don't do it.
Oh, if our chat gets leaked, I am in trouble.
All of us are in legitimate trouble.
It's like, hey, this doesn't look so good printed out on paper, my boy.
It's like, yeah, this doesn't sound so good said back to me in court. It's like, and we will
Should we-
seize the power from these vultures. By
It's like,
any-
it's like, Mr. It's like, Mr. Brandon, on February the 18th of 2023, do you recall texting Mr. Purvis the phrase "boom, boom, 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 boom"?
I cannot recall this specific
Which
instance.
I have no recollection of this, Your Honor.
I have no recollection of this specific instance, Your Honor.
I was supposed to say, what was the date? Because it happened every day.
Sometimes it's boom, boom, boom. Sometimes it's doot, 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 doot. Sometimes it's. I don't know how to type that one.
But I understand it every time.
Yeah.
I know exactly what it is.
All right. Speaking of Metro Boomin, West Side Gun, and
In court.
in court, like
Shall we enter our
I
rapper's
think
court?
I think we've arrived here pretty elegantly,
God.
actually. Like
It's like that scene in Pirates of the Caribbean where the ship is sinking and he just like plops off at the dock.
yeah, that's exactly what this feels like. Right
Graceful dismount. Jesus Christ.
Man, I want to see Pirates of the Caribbean now. It's been a while.
now. That movie's so
That's a
good,
good
dude. The
movie.
first
That's a
Pirates
good
is an
movie.
incredible movie.
All of them.
I
love it.
even
Jack
like the-
Sparrow is a classic character.
Yeah, no, I like the three.
Okay.
Okay. So
But this week, essentially for Brandon's birthday, we've decided that we are going to be having the next Kanye debate.
yeah,
We are
everyone
in-
knows I love to argue. So
Yes.
for my birthday, we're having a big fucking argument. Like,
And one of our most successful episodes is a debate.
yeah.
so here we are again debating. Essentially, here we are in 2023. Kanye West has lost his mind.
Well, something I want to bring up about this conversation that I actually think is
Yes.
interesting is that this is a completely pre-controversy topic we've had. Like me and Purvis have discussed, like, look, Kanye's reign as like the head person in the culture, right, was never going to last forever. Right.
Eventually,
By virtue of him being a mortal man who can die, like, eventually someone else was going to have to take the reins. It's just that in the history of the genre, I just don't think anyone has had them as long as Kanye. So it felt weird. But this is a conversation we've been having since long before, like, the controversies, long before this podcast. I would say even before the 2018 controversies, we were already talking, like, who is inevitably going to be the next Kanye West?
exactly.
And then
I gotta say, it's kind of wild that it lasted pretty much exactly 20 years.
yeah, it is. And
A very long time
yeah.
for a
And,
career. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So like literally 2003 to early 2023, like a 20-year period, like exactly. That's
It depends.
crazy.
Yeah,
decades
it depends
of our
on.
life.
I mean, I'm definitely willing to round up the year. I just think it depends on how you cut it. I would cut it down to 2, because it's like, to me, I think the work is still,
What's going on here?
yeah, it's still like the most important thing, and it's like, you know, I just the 3 release run of Jesus is King, Donda, and Donda 2 is just, not to the standard of a 3 release run of Kanye West.
Sure, absolutely.
That is
Yeah,
a
even
very
though I
valid
like
thing to
More
say.
like Donda Who.
Even though I like Donda, like I thought Donda was good.
Donda is good.
Yeah, I thought Donda was good, but Jesus is King wasn't, and Donda 2 was
Brendan knows how I
significantly
feel about
worse.
Donda.
Donda 2 has like cool moments, but it's not an album even. Barely.
Yeah, it has
like, you can barely call it an album.
Yeah, it has the cool hook from Don Toliver. Like,
yeah, that, and I mean that song. What is it, Lost, or whatever it is,
Yeah.
where he's doing like the vocal effect. That's like kind of cool, but
Yeah.
it's just like it's cheap toys. It's not anything substantive. So.
Yeah.
I am still proud to say that I preferred Certified Lover Boy over Donda Against You and Eddie. And I'm still standing on that.
That's fair. I mean, like,
you mean the Emoji album?
Yes.
I will
emoji
defend.
album.
I will defend the album cover. I thought the album cover was.
I mean, you have an all black album cover. How about that?
No, I thought it was a good album cover. I thought it was funny. I thought it was like a funny actual thing. I think it was the most substantive part of that album. Like,
oof.
Stop lying. You like.
I like some songs. I like a couple songs of Certified Lover Boy. Just not as much as Scorpion, and not as, but probably more than Views. Like,
that is fair. That's fair.
So we've all taken a bat at who we think is going to be the next Kanye. Looking at the state of hip hop right now, looking at where we think things could go in the future, and who's going to fit that specific kind of role. And we each brought someone.
Yes.
And we're all ready to defend. And we're going to be doing this old school.
So I was going to say that the way I kind of had it set up, it's almost like a court case where one of us will open up with a statement for an artist that we're supporting. The other two people will kind of question it, challenge it, bring out some points that might be some flaws or even supporting points.
Yeah.
And then we'll kind of have a closing statement to see who has brought the most potential person, I should say. Some other things to bring up. I just think naturally we did not want to do very clear, obvious people.
Yeah.
If that's a way to say it.
Yeah.
Because they have other lanes.
Yeah, because the thing is that it's like, who is the next Kanye? Who's going to fill this role? And the thing is that if you're already filling like a really important role in the culture, you're not. It's going. The deck is stacked way against you, right?
Exactly.
Like
cough J. Cole, cough Kendrick.
Cough Drake. Like
Drake. There's many.
Kendrick's a great example. Kendrick can't be the next Kanye. He's Kendrick. Like, Kendrick is like a lane in and of itself. But I do think that, like, who was Kanye before Kanye? Probably Jay-Z, right?
Yeah, maybe.
He
could be one of those people.
The thing is that these reigns don't typically last that long.
That is very true. The fact that we just pointed out Kanye had 2 decades is astonishing, because there are a lot of qualifications to get you to that level.
Yeah.
Some things that we pointed out, and which is not limited to this.
And
like
this
cultural.
This is just so everyone knows. Like, we all sat down and we agreed, like, what are the points that we're arguing up against, So we
100%.
all kind of had, like, we came down to, like, these 5 kind of, like, almost like a rubric, I guess you could say.
So some of these things that we kind of went over is, of course, when you're talking about influential rapper and someone like Kanye, cultural impact has a very large point to that artist. We have naturally awards and accolades. Numbers do not mean everything, but they do matter. You have just natural skill level. What do they bring to the table in terms of, like, what can they actually do? Because, like, look, Young Thug's great, but I don't know if Young Thug knows.
Young Thug is like
instruments.
Young Thug just doesn't have someone like a Chief Keef is another great example. Like, Chief Keef is amazing. Like, but
the most influential drill rapper there is.
Yeah, absolutely. But is he going to step into this point in the culture here in 2023? Because I think that's another thing, is that, like, here in 2023, if we were having this conversation in 2018, like, the name Donald Glover would come up, which, spoiler alert, you've seen the thumbnail. He's not here, right? Like,
some other things that we want to go over as well is also the expansion into other forms of media or art. as we know, Kanye, I have multiple pairs of Yeezys.
Yeah.
Jasper has multiple pairs of Yeezys.
Multiple
pretty
is
sure-
a loose term.
Look, we'll just say multiple because we don't have to give a number.
Yeah.
No, we don't.
Brandon owns merch that I know that he has from Kanye.
Yeah.
So needless to say, he's jumped into designer
Yeah.
stuff. I believe he's jumped into technically movies.
Yeah.
Well, documentaries at least.
Yeah.
Confirmed documentary.
Yeah, and there's a lot of different ways that you could just extend to other parts of the culture, you know,
Exactly.
into other cultures, I guess you would say, right? Like, yeah.
And then what we also have is also collaborations with other artists, which can tie into influencing future artists. We would not have a lot of people without Kanye if we're being
No,
completely
Kanye brought in, it was a sea change.
Right.
Not just in like what he did to like the music people who weren't associated with him made, but how many people he brought with him, you know?
Literally.
Like Big Sean, Pusha T, you know, Kid Cudi, Chance the Rapper. Oh, I don't know about
So
Chance,
many.
but like,
Ivan
even
Jasper,
still.
Virgil Abloh, and people who are outside of music too, just like
Yeah.
who had a profound impact on what the culture is and what the experience is, you know, in the context of it.
yeah.
Exactly. And that's a huge point.
Don C.
Yeah.
Don C as well. Yeah.
So yeah,
So,
so
yeah.
those are the things we're arguing up against.
It is a high pedestal,
It's a
but
high
we will be
pedestal.
making arguments
Yeah.
for who could fit that. I think Brandon, should you open us up?
Do we want to do honorable mentions really quick?
Oh yes,
'Cause we have a
obviously,
few honorable mentions.
I missed them. Yes.
Yeah. Purvis, start us off.
Okay, so some of the honorable mentions that I had for myself. Honestly, before I came to Metro Boomin, I first said Drake, but then we realized
Yeah.
he has his own lane. It just doesn't work.
Yeah.
But some legitimate people that I think would fit.
You had another
I
one
w-
in between here that I think was
Right.
you made the right call, but I think is an honorable mention for sure.
Absolutely. I said Jid myself. I think Jid is becoming a major star in the industry. I think he has a large influence in terms of what we actually talked about. He's starting to get the awards and notice that he deserves, but he has not obtained them. He definitely has the skill level to reach that.
No.
And he has already kind of tapped into the fashion industry as he's had a collab with Converse and is working on that. And he's collabed with several artists in the industry.
Yeah.
Some other people that I wanted to bring up, obviously Childish Gambino. Very self-explanatory. He
Yeah.
is the jack of all trades. Like,
Yeah.
literally.
Honestly,
he's done everything.
the only reason why the crown didn't just naturally fall on his head was because there's I think a reasonable question to be asked about his music, his future. You know, I think it still could be, but I think that's a reasonable question to be asked.
Exactly. And if you're going to be the most influential rapper, you have
It's got to
rap.
you got to be centered on music for
Right.
sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then because I don't want to like take all of them. Another one that came up to my mind is what could have been was Juice World.
Yeah.
Juice World was making it to that point. Honestly, we
Yeah.
have even talked about it when we had our last debate for Mount Rushmore. I didn't personally, I wouldn't have put him on my like top four, but like
Yeah.
it's significant that he is on some of our top fours or an honorable mention.
Yeah. No.
And
And
like, there's a reason.
no, there totally is a reason. And Juice WRLD had like that creative spark that I think is necessary. That I think everyone that we're bringing today has.
Yes,
You know?
absolutely.
Because like full disclosure, I think everyone brought really excellent picks.
Yes,
I think all
they'll
of these
surprise a lot of
are,
our
like,
listeners. Also,
Are like in the lane. I think are primed to be in that spot.
Yes.
Jazz, did you have any honorable mentions?
Yeah, I had a couple. I also bounced off the idea of Donald Glover just because of his, multi-hyphenate status and how influential he's become, especially over the past like 10 years or so. But same kind of thing where, it doesn't feel as though as intensely talented as he is and how I'm happy to be one of the first people to recognize that, it doesn't feel as though he's ever had the critical and commercial success in music that he has wanted to have to keep him interested in it in the long term. So I think that's a
Good
big
point.
part of why he's interested in branching out and going into other media, because it's an area where he has a lot of control, he can have a lot of influence, and he can produce a product or really a work of art that is not only to his standards but also to I guess more appealing to a mainstream audience through the lens of how, or like the critical lens that exists for that art form in a different way.
I think that's an excellent point. I actually had a very quick
Yeah.
question, and we don't have to get too deep into it.
No, go ahead.
Yeah.
For what it is, and within its own industry, what do you think is bigger to Childish Gambino, because of the internet or Atlanta? I think
Atlanta.
Atlanta.
Atlanta's bigger,
unquestionably.
Yeah.
Because of the internet's huge.
I stand by because the internet's quality and how it stands up as like a piece of art, and like
Definitely.
and like how I think it is aging like better than any other hip hop project, maybe even better than better projects that were contemporaneous, like Good Kid, Mad City, right? Like Good Kid, Mad City is not objectively, but like very clearly a better album. But I think because the internet is aging better. But yeah, no, I think the answer is clearly Atlanta, just because it feels just very direct, and it feels like this is where he wants to be, a little bit more.
He's able to express his unique personality and perspective of the world much better through Atlanta.
Yeah,
I feel like.
I think right now, like I've only seen like a little bit of the third season of Atlanta.
Man, you need to hurry up.
I know. It's just that like right now I'm into very like mind-numbing sitcoms, and like Atlanta is not that. Like,
no,
it is not. Well, season 3,
yeah,
literally
pull it off.
Literally me though. Honestly,
I mean, like Superstore. Superstore and New Girl, like really stupid generic comedies.
My girl and I were watching. We finished season 3, and then we're like, "Hey, do you want to take us a detour and watch the entirety of the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air?" Okay,
like what a detour! Like Jesus.
Plus, I need to get back to The Sopranos.
Oh yeah.
No, believe it or not, I'm still finishing. The first time actually watching Key and Peele, like
actually watching, was really good. Yeah,
so good. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. All right, finish up your honorable mentions, Jess.
So, my number one pick originally, who I think is very justified, but also again falls kind of outside, a la Drake or The Weeknd or somebody else of that status, is Travis Scott.
Yeah,
because. Okay. He has very much made his own lane.
He's definitely more borderline than those guys, but yeah, you're right.
In many ways, he's eclipsed Kanye in the sense of the also kind of multiple forms of media and art, and then also sheer cultural impact. Travis was the moment for about 3 years, and there was something, and not that this is music related or has any bearing on it, but at peak release times for products, Nike came forward recently and released some stats on what people are trying to buy on their site and their store and whatever else. The Travis Scott collaborations that they do routinely receive over 6 billion bot entries. Over 6 billion independent bot accounts attempting to purchase these shoes to resell and to have or whatever else. So the fact that there is such white hot hype for an individual that is so sustained, even Kanye didn't sustain this level of hype for his collaborations for the same amount of time. So there's something to be said for that torch kind of being passed in a way, and that's part of why I think Travis is not really the best candidate for this conversation, because he's carved out his own culture or his own space within it.
Yeah.
And then my other one, who's an honorable mention, much like you had Juice WRLD, would be Pop Smoke, because I think his development as an artist was obviously cut extremely short, and I think that his sound was really... I would be very interested to see what his sound would be like today and how popular it would be had he not been killed, because his sound was something that was really felt like it was emerging at the time when he was releasing his first projects, his mixtapes, and then when Shoot for the Stars, Aim for the Moon came out, that was like the crescendo. And then since then we've seen it's evolved in some ways with other artists, but nothing has exactly mirrored it or been like it, I would say. And because of that, I really would have liked to see like how he could have pushed a certain kind of subgenre forward and made it really mainstream and popular.
Yeah, that's totally fair.
To me, Pop Smoke was our 50 Cent.
Yeah.
He was like the new 50 Cent, 100%.
Yeah,
New
he was
York,
definitely, yeah.
featured 50 on everything. Yeah, the relationship that he and 50 had very much felt like how Travis and Kid Cudi were.
Yeah.
Where it's like they started to have like features and it was a big inspiration. And you see kind of like the mentor-mentee approach almost, it felt like.
Yeah, definitely.
But, okay.
Yeah.
Brandon, what were your honorable mentions?
Okay, so I have two, right? So the first one, just real quick, Kevin Abstract. Like, I think Kevin Abstract, he is absolutely. I've been saying this for years. I really think he was one I considered wanting to like maybe pull and like do for this one, but I just think Brockhampton's going to be a lot to get past, and maybe that's just me. I'm a big Brockhampton fan, but I think similar to some artists that we're going to be talking about, like I don't know, like I think he's like funneled out and not, I think he.
I was going to say, yeah. If you're comparing to everyone else, including the honorable mentions that we're mentioning, I feel like he's the least there.
Yeah, and then I have another one, and like I feel like I'm going to get some pushback on this, because I feel like more than anyone we said, if this person decided that they wanted to be in this position, I think they could. And like, spoiler alert for my argument right now, because I think the person who is going to be the next Kanye has to have is it's like I'm going to borrow the Jay-Z metaphor of the rocket ship, right? They need to have fuel, so they need to have clout in the industry. They need to be recognized by their peers, but they also need like space. They need something to travel into, which means I think like, and that's like up here, like the brain, like how we see them, right?
Okay.
And I think there's an incredible producer who has a huge amount of clout in the industry, but doesn't have a lot of space in people's brains. And I think that's LP. But the thing is, I think given the way LP makes projects, given the kind of projects he wants to make, I think more than anyone else, he will never ascend to that level.
Yeah.
I think so I think like what his desires as an artist are going to completely disqualify him. But I think in terms of like who he could tap into, and like, look, I was talking to some friends at work, and like, this is like the reaction everyone gives when I bring up LP and I'm talking about music, is it's like, the first step is like, oh, who's that? And it's like, oh, he's the white guy in Run the Jewels. And it's like, oh, he's dope. And it's like, oh, that's like exactly like the chain reaction that would need to happen in somebody's head to like get into this position. Right.
Which is very tough for him.
Yeah, which is very tough for him because of how he makes his music and the kind of music he makes. Right. But I think like if he decided that that's what he wanted, I think he has like that unique combination of like space to grow and clout to like really pop off. All right. So do we each want to announce our person?
Absolutely.
All right.
You start us off, Brandon.
All right.
This is your birthday event.
Okay, yes. Gentlemen, I picked West Side Gun.
Okay.
And like,
now, to be fair, before you start, just in case our listeners do not know who our people are, give a brief description of
West Side Gun is a rapper, producer / curator.
Big words.
Yeah, curator. I think what he does is very cleanly under the label of producer, but okay. He's the head of Griselda Records. He was on. He cut his teeth releasing the Hitler Wears Hermes series mixtapes while he was still on Shady Records. He has excellent albums. Fly God is an Awesome God. Pray for Paris. What's so fun? Like,
here you say Awesome God.
Yeah, Fly God is an Awesome God. Obviously the Hitler Wears Hermes series. Sincerely Adolf, Side B, and 10 is like an incredible 10 album run. And on top of that, he is the head of Griselda Records, and who has artists, a deep, deep roster of talent. It's like Benny the Butcher, Stove God Cooks, Rome Streets, Armani Caesar, Boldy James, and formerly Conway the Machine. And that formally is going to tie really deeply into my argument. Okay. But what I think is interesting is the same way Kanye was a soul producer in the era of bling and gangster rap, West Side Gun is a boom bap producer in the era of trap, and I think we're in the midst of watching his sound start to dominate the mainstream. I mean, it's kind of hard. Like even myself, I learned about Griselda when Donda came out because they were on Donda, and I got into Hitler Wears Hermes 8, the 2 8s that came out, and then kind of like Ram. I think I'm on this show saying who are these people, and then when Kanye the Machine dropped, it was just like out to the races, right? Okay. So yeah, that's who I'm picking. I'm picking West Side Gun.
Okay. This is an interesting pick.
Yeah.
I respect the pick, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
I like the idea of him coming up and being the next Kanye.
Yeah.
But obviously we do have to talk about.
No, we all have picks. And like look, they're all good. They're all viable picks. I have arguments in favor of both of your artists. Like,
oh yeah. That's what I was gonna say. Because honestly, if I was to pick the next one out of the three of us, I would want it to be West Side Gun, if I'm being honest. Because I have been diving into him recently. I feel like the other two people may not want it as well. But that's the first thing I want to ask about. Because obviously, after the opening statement, the defendant gets on. We call West Side Gun to the stand. So
wait, are we gonna all do our opening statements first?
I don't know. Are we? I thought we was just gonna go through one artist.
Robin. Yeah, let's do round robin.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it'd be better if we all did. If we did round robin for sure. So who's ready to
I feel like
opening
Jasper
arguments?
should go.
Okay, yeah, I'll go. Should I do it in the DJ Drama voice or without the DJ Drama voice? Right?
How racist
it's
is
up
the
to
DJ
you.
Drama voice? Like that's a factor.
I'm having a hard time actually conjuring a mental picture of DJ Drama now.
No, that would be too hard.
He's very light skinned.
I was gonna say because like he looks like my Jewish uncle. Like I don't know, man.
Someone called you Logic.
He's the best. Like
anyway, my pick is Tyler Baudelaire, aka Bunny Hop, aka the Creator. Obviously, Tyler the
Strong
Creator.
Introduction. Yeah.
Well, call me if you get lost. All right.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Again, super multi-hyphenate, operates in a little less of a, up until recently, a commercially popular, I guess, centrally popular space up until around like 2019, and definitely has, I would say, the breadth in terms of variety of sound and production and the vocabulary to really stand out as a rapper, as a lyricist, as a singer, as a songwriter. And then he also very much has the cultural impact down, starting out as kind of like a subculture in and of itself, Odd Future, and its kind of sound and direction really kind of changed and evolved over time. And we've seen the changes in the career, which we've talked about on the show. And then awards and accolades, they're there. He's 2 for 2 right now as far as like recent projects, having won best rap album at the Grammys. Skill level, he's there, I'd say, as far as lyricism goes. You've got really deep, intricate cuts where you've got like just as many bop, easy to sing along to type songs on the same project. Multiple forms of media and art. You've got golf. You've got LaFleur, which is the very luxury edition of golf. You've got production of products. You've got deluxe editions of albums, music, nail polish. You've got everything that you could probably want out of the guy.
Yeah.
Collaborations with other artists. It's been a long time coming. Developing everything from early Frank, Demogenesis, all the way out to now it's like, and then Kali Uchis in the middle, out to Kanye on Igor, and then forward onto Call Me If You Get Lost, just like pulling talent from pretty much everywhere. And yeah, I mean, he's my pick. I mean, I think he's a shoo-in for the position. The question is, does he want to be the next Kanye, or is he paving his own lane? That's the only question in my mind.
Yeah.
A very fair question. I think out of everyone that we're going to be mentioning, including honorable mentions, he is the closest to the most successful.
Yeah, no, he's definitely
like everything that he's completed in his life outside of music. he is definitely the most decorated.
He is also like the closest of all the people that could become
Right.
it. He's clearly the closest.
Yeah.
Like,
He is the favorite.
I have my arguments about why I still think Westside could win it out, but he's clearly like in that lane already, almost not by choice.
Yeah, and the reality is he is putting up at this point, he's putting up Kanye numbers.
Yeah.
He's just doing it, it feels like, in a more alternative way when it comes to the rollout, when it comes to the level of polish of the productions and what he values out of the work that he puts out.
Mm-hmm. No, he's passionate. He's real.
Yeah.
Like when you get Tyler, you get a real Tyler. It's not flushed out at all.
Yeah. All right, Purvis.
Yeah, I
Name
will
your
go into
champion.
I'm not gonna lie, like I said, I switched around the most out of all of us, just because I know the title of next Kanye is debatably the heaviest crown you can wear in the genre, because it comes with so much responsibility and so much talent that goes into it. And I'm not gonna lie, I will say I started off with Drake just because we weren't in the mindset of like, oh, he has his own separate line, he's already successful. So I canceled him out very quickly. I did do Jid next because Jid, I feel like he just has that skill level, he's at that talent level, he's been working with other people in general.
Yeah. I don't think Jid's an awful pick by any stretch, but I think
No,
who you
not
landed
at
on
all.
was definitely better.
Yes. So what I ended up coming to was Mr. Leland Tyler Wayne, professionally known as Metro Boomin.
Did you just say Metro Boomin's name is Leland?
Leland.
That's
So serious.
hilarious. I have a good friend named Leland, and he is the exact opposite of Metro Boomin.
Yeah. We
Does he
got
trust you?
Leland.
Yes. Like,
There you go.
He is coming at the age of 29, born out of St. Louis, Missouri. In my opinion, the reason I wanted to go with Metro Boomin is because, and if you look at the trajectory of Kanye West's career path, he did also start out as a producer, and looking at what Metro Boomin has been able to successfully accomplish in his career just by being a producer alone, he's, to be honest, much more farther than a lot of just artists within themselves, within the genre.
And I think the skills you really need to get to that position come from being a producer.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, really they do. Like, and I think all the picks we have here qualify in some regard.
Yes. So in terms of just like the impact that he has, I feel like, and we kind of touched on this last week or the week before, but producers in general just have not really gotten the respect that they deserve. Hence LP.
Yeah.
And many other people.
It's really the younger generation who's like bringing
exactly, like, and it's come to the light.
The best part about like younger hip hop fans is the appreciation for producers, I would say.
Yeah, we talked about last week. We talked about Plain Pat, Emil, Dot the Genius, and just like how no flowers while they're here to smell them.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. And so I love the concept of bringing some attention to the genre that's focused on the actual music making part of it. Obviously, hip hop or rap, just as a genre, of course, is focused on the lyrics, but you won't get a lot of people, I feel like, or you'll not get a well-versed discography of some of the artists that we know without Metro Boomin.
Yeah, people come back for lyrics, but like they only stay to begin with for like the production.
Exactly.
Like it has to hit on that level, or you're gonna wind up with a very niche audience, and that's fine, right? Like that can be the goal for a lot of people. Like a lot of people want to stay niche, but that's a reality though.
And the fact that he is what's really pushing the music or pushing the sounds that you're hearing in reality, I feel like the cultural impact is huge already. The skill level is untouched. He is the biggest producer of our generation.
And especially, I would say, like, in terms of I mean, I don't know about numbers. I did not look over numbers for this debate.
He is 33rd, 33rd most listened to artist on Spotify.
That's a lot. That's really high up.
He is huge. Right now, he has an average monthly listener base of 52 million.
Yeah. That's insane. Yeah.
It's huge.
Yeah.
So
West Side Gun has like 2. Like,
You know, I really
so it's real, and the
Yeah.
numbers are there, and it backs it up. And he works with everybody.
yeah, he's got a very
Like,
wide breadth.
he is the definition of creating what hip hop sound is.
Yeah.
it is the listener base figure calculated off of plays associated with songs that he's credited on. It has to be, right?
Yeah,
I
because
believe
like
so, and I think that's fair.
50,
On top
52
of that.
million.
I do.
No, it's
think,
fair.
I do think that's
But I'm just
completely
wondering,
fair.
like, because like, how the hell else do you get 52 million?
That's
people?
my thing. It's like
Very true.
I think that is completely legitimate. I think those should totally count. To
To give you some understanding, Tyler is at 33.7,
Yeah.
and that's
Drake is
not
at
even
71.
to knock Tyler.
Drake
Right.
is at 71. It's not that far off Drake.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. No,
So
he's
anyway, with the announcement of him being in Spider-Man now,
Yeah.
he's showing
producing
that
the
he's such
score.
an other
Yeah, like that.
man.
Like, because he's not just in it as like a cameo, which would be cool enough, you know. But like, he's actually
A real character
contributing
like, in the show.
and he's contributing to like the production of it behind the scenes in his craft, right? He's making the score, right?
Exactly.
And I think hip hop
Character looks so
producer,
dope.
yeah,
So dope.
and the character design is awesome, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think Metro Booming is. I think he has a couple Achilles heels, but I think he's a very strong pick. So
That's completely fair. Should we open up the
yeah,
discussion then?
let's get down to the meat and potatoes arguments, right? And I'll go first because I don't care. So what's that gun? I want to
Okay.
yeah. So I want to break it down into a few different like areas I want to talk about. First, I want to talk about the roster, and that is, I think the area where West Side Gun is really, really, really pulling the weight the hardest. Because I think does Metro have a label?
Let me take a look. I don't believe he's on the label. Oh
Yeah.
no. He has Boominati Worldwide. It's a
Okay.
real label.
Okay,
Actually,
yeah,
he does.
no,
have it.
I believe it. Like, I totally does. Like, it would make perfect sense, right? But I think it's relevant that like we're unfamiliar with Boominati Worldwide as much as we are Griselda Records, right?
Very true.
And like, I definitely see West Side Gun, and I just knowing from like hearing him talk about like what goes on behind the scenes at Griselda, I think he really is the puppet master pulling all these strings, which I think really the sum total of that record label, I think, contributes to his cultural impact a lot, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I think the fact that he's the one putting, you know, masterminding things like Kiss the Ring, things like God Don't Make Mistakes, which brings me to my first killer point, right?
Okay.
Because I think it's important to note that Conway the Machine isn't even on Griselda anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, he shows up on Hitler Wears Hermes 10. West Side Gun is appearing on his soon-to-be-released project, I believe. Like, their collaborations have continued. Mm-hmm. And I think that's because West Side Gun cares very deeply about having a roster of artists, like, beneath him, for lack of a better phrase. Or, like,
Okay.
or he just cares about the presentation of the artists he brought up, right?
Yeah.
And and that gets me to the second point, right? And that's the sounds, right? I think a huge factor in Kanye West's success at the time, like let's go back to like the college dropout days, was how different his sound was from the area, was from what everything else was going on. Look, I love Metro Boomin too. He was probably my favorite trap producer of all time. But he's a trap producer in a trap landscape, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think West Side Gun, by bringing back this very nostalgic and romantic boom bap sound in a way that is being embraced by listeners who never had current boom bap in their life, right? I think is relative. You know, I think that's relevant to like his place in this section. And yeah, I'll give you this. Like, he's definitely, despite probably being, I'm almost certainly the oldest of the three. I think he's definitely earliest in his career. We'll see how much of an impact this has across the music industry as a whole. But the thing is, we still have to wait and see. And the thing is, it looks like the projects he's putting out are bigger and bigger and bigger. I mean, look at the release schedule that we have coming up so far. You know, and like look at the producers that he has tapped into to create this sound. You know, he has Derringer, who's all over projects from everything from Freddie Gibbs to Action Bronson. You have The Alchemist, who, yes, has a story long that goes way beyond Griselda Records, but an undeniable huge part of like creating this sound. And I think there's just all his ability to tap talent. Has there been a more stacked like feature list than Hitler Wears Hermès 10 last year? The guy got Black Star back for their first reunion that wasn't on a podcasting app. Right? And like I'm gonna keep this real. Like I think it's relevant to point out that like Tyler the Creator and Metro Boomin have both been on West Side Gun songs.
Oh yeah,
and not the other way around. Even though I think I'm pretty sure the Metro Booming one has not been released.
So okay, wait, because we're going too fast.
Yeah, but
so I wanted to go through some of those points because you also just brought up a really good point.
Yeah.
So in terms of him creating a group or influencing others, just in general, off of your first point where he's tapped in. You have this group of people that were tied to Griselda. He appreciates them. He loves them. He wants to bring up their career. For someone like who Kanye was able to tap into many other genres, many other subgenres within hip hop.
Yeah.
As you just mentioned, other people have appeared within Griselda, but you don't really see Griselda working with other people that much.
How so?
I feel like I've never, and one major thing that we talked about with Kanye, it needs to be able to be mass produced. Like actually, that I feel like that is a significant factor.
What do you mean mass produced? Like it has to be able to hit the masses, or it
needs to be able to,
or it needs to produce a lot of it.
Like, no. It needs to be able to hit the masses. It needs to be able to hit multiple different fan bases.
Yeah.
And I feel like one thing that we've already discussed, he does not have a lot of listeners.
Yeah, and I'll freely admit that part hasn't happened yet. Like,
right, and I think it could. I think it could happen.
I'll freely admit that this is the guy who this part has not happened for sure.
Do you think? And like, actually though, because in my personal opinion, part of it, I don't think he wants to. I don't think he wants to tap out of it, and I also don't really know how it would function because as both of us are huge music fans and we just discovered Griselda within the last year or so.
Yeah.
So I feel like he just doesn't really have the capabilities of working with someone that's so different from him. I feel like the sound of that boom bap is very limited, where you don't have a large fan base. You have the hardcore fans, you have the old style fans.
Yeah.
But this is not something that people just listen to.
Yes, but people said the same thing about trap, and it was just T.I. though.
I don't know. T.I. is like damn near pop in a sense. Okay, let me correct myself.
Like,
it's not pop. Yeah. But like it was played as pop.
Yeah.
The way it was presented. Griselda's not presented as
it's
casual
not.
listening alone.
Yes, but I think that's because of like the nature of where they are in the cycle of a cultural saturation, right? I freely admit that we have not yet to see like the Griselda sound start to completely penetrate artists, but you know they just had their historic run ended 5 months ago, right? So like I'm not gonna lie, I'm predicting the weather here a little bit. So I get
Do
that,
you think
but
the
I do have
sound?
to stand very steadfast on like
Mhm.
the idea that like this is not going to be the most popular thing. They said that about like the sing-songy emo rap of Drake and Kid Cudi. They said that
Mhm.
about trap music, which is undoubtedly like the dominant subgenre of hip hop. Uh, since
I'm curious for the boom bap sound, just like as a subgenre. Do you think it's pushed by the lyrics, which would be a West Side Gun, or do you think it's pushed by the production, which would be like an Alchemist who's been
Well,
doing it for years?
I think the thing is though, you have to understand that just like Kanye is like pulling the strings to get
Mm,
Alchemist and Boldy James in the same room,
that is
like
what West
I
Side.
think that's what West Side Gun is doing.
Okay.
Like the same way that Kanye got like Common and Kid Cudi in the same room in order to have his contribution to Man on the Moon. I think West Side Gun is the people bringing those two people together. You know,
Okay.
I think that's exactly what he's doing.
I can definitely see that. My counter argument against West Side Gun would be that I don't think time is on his side. You look at Kanye, right? Kanye was 22 when he started really producing, 26 when College Dropout
Yeah.
came out. West Side Gun is 40 now.
It's 40.
And
Yeah.
started gaining traction like what, 2 years ago, last year?
Sure.
And it's one of those things where Kanye had a 20-year period in the prime of his life to develop his career and his sound and also develop a following that was mainstream. And Kanye is only 5 years older than West Side Gun. West Side Gun feels like, with all the talent that he has stacked, is kind of starting that process now. So I think in many ways that works against him.
I don't think in order to be this next Kanye, he needs to be it for as long as Kanye was. I think that's the
fair.
exception, not the rule. Because like there were Kanyes before Kanye. You know, Rakim was Kanye. You know, but he was only the Kanye.
Hold on. Actually, though, I want to think about that for a second.
Yeah.
Because longevity does matter.
Longevity does matter. Yes, I will say
Like,
longevity.
that matters a lot, in my opinion.
I think longevity does matter, both in terms of like how long he's going to. But once again, like
I'm just saying, Chance the Rapper
that-
was on top of the world, in my opinion. And
yeah,
is
but
part of
like
what
that's
made-
I feel
that
like
is
that
part of what made Kanye Kanye. The fact that you can say I miss the old Kanye and it means something.
Well, yes. Yeah, I guess that's fair. Like he
that's
is
why I was
like,
hold on.
Yeah,
I think
no,
you
I
do
think-
have to be in
I
the
think
light for at least 5 years.
well, yes, but 5 years is not 20. 5 years is closer
That's
to
true.
0 than it is to 20. Like
20 is the exception.
Yeah,
Because
that's
Kanye.
that's
but
simply the
I'm just
point I'm
saying,
making.
you have
I
to
agree.
be important for a
I
long
ag-
time.
I agree. Longevity can be a factor. But I also think like longevity does not necessarily need to be West Side Gun, the guy on the album. I think of West Side Gun, I think Benny the Butcher is like a great example of an artist I think is primed to blow up. With the album, like with the album he has coming out this year with Alchemist and Hit Boy, right? But like that's still like West Side Gun putting that together. And I think that still counts as like an argument for him. The same way Kanye's entire run on good music is like part of what cemented him in there. And the thing is that West Side Gun is very open about like him being the head of this record label.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Here's a question. Do y'all remember when it seemed like Kanye's career was over the first time?
Which one?
time?
Exactly.
Which one?
I would say the first like major one being the very mixed reception to 808s.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I was gonna say even before that, the Hurricane Katrina thing.
Sure. I mean that was
George
getting
Bush
off,
doesn't care about
getting
black
off the
people.
ground. But I mean like once Kanye was, I would say, nationally known and internationally known well enough for this to be an issue with a release of his, right? It seems that there's definitely been a constant kind of ebb and flow of like, oh, is it over? Oh, is he coming back? Oh, is it over? And I would be curious to see if West Side Gun could weather something like that, because you look at Kanye and who Kanye appealed to, and who.
Man, this is a really good point.
Who was listening to Kanye before Kanye was big? There was no enthusiast hip hop community like there is today, right? And I feel like people who are very
I completely
much
disagree with that.
No, but because I'm sorry, there was an enthusiast community, but it was not constantly being, the flames were not constantly being fanned by access to news and the internet and the ability to instantly share information.
Yeah.
So the way I see it is West Side Gun has this extremely passionate, extremely kind of closed or very insulated fan base that is like very, very interested in everything Griselda and everything going on with the label.
I would not call his fan base insulated.
Maybe not insulated, but I guess in a sense they are very much focused.
I would say like Griselda Records as of 2022 is niche. I would say that.
Sure, niche is a better word then. But with that being said, I wonder,
niche isn't good.
as Griselda and Conway and the rest, well, not even Conway because he's a feature, but as West Side Gun and Benny the Butcher start to inevitably develop and push outside of that realm of their niche, do they retain that fan base and continue to cater to them, or do they compromise in some way where it impacts that existing fan base while risking it to go after a larger piece of the pie, which may not pay off?
I think it all depends on like I think it comes down to the quality of the work, and that's another reason why I think like this is actually a symbiotic relationship that I think is actually going to benefit them, right? Because I think Griselda's fan base are hardcore hip hop fans right now. And yes, that's a niche fan base. That is not who listens to the majority of hip hop, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But I would say of the niche fan bases, they are the ones that have the most pull over the culture, right? And I guess like my approach kind of comes from Purvis has no chance in hell of knowing who this group is, but maybe Jasper does. Are you familiar with the Velvet Underground?
Yes.
There's this like famous
Hold up.
Yeah, like,
hey Purvis, you want a banana?
Yeah. But like they put out this album, right? And it was like a massive bomb, right? It sold like 40,000 records, right? But the famous line of it was all 40,000, everyone who bought a Velvet Underground record started a band and made music, so their impact was massive beyond what they sold, right? And I do think like West Side Gun kind of exists in a similar area.
I could kind of see that.
Yeah.
You said people who knew the music also dove into music?
No, I'm saying everybody who bought the saying, and once again, this is a glib saying, but like everyone who bought the Velvet Underground album went on to make a band because
there was people who were so dedicated.
Are one of the most cited influences, right? It's almost a cliche for an artist to be like, oh, we're inspired by the Velvet Underground. They are like, they sold 100th of the records of Led Zeppelin and are probably mentioned about as many times by other bands when they say who influenced you. That's my point.
Who?
Yeah, because they were totally uncompromising.
So like someone like Oasis, like when they came up, they would say like other bands who are like getting famous, they would be like, oh, like who are your influences? And the Velvet Underground was like a very popular response, despite the fact that they did not sell a lot of albums.
Yeah,
I needed to clarify because I was going to be like, I was inspired by Kanye. Who cares if I was inspired by Kanye? Are these actual people? That
no, these are like people like Oasis, Arctic Monkeys, people who are selling records and defining the sound going forward.
Well, Arctic Monkeys is no longer selling records, but that's besides the point.
That's that's not besides the point. They haven't sold records since AM. Like
they had a good album.
Well,
they have several. No, they have several good albums, but that's my point. Is that I think like. The pyramid of it is really going to help out West Side Gun. And like you bring up controversy, I actually think there's a hardcore evidence of how West Side Gun handles controversy. And I think it works in his favor. Because,
hold on.
Because it's about Kanye. Like,
I'm just curious though, because no, you're right. He's faced a lot of controversy.
Yeah, because like
from a lot of different parties.
Yeah, and like look, Kanye started doing all the anti-Semite stuff about a week before an album called Hitler Wears Hermes was going to come out.
And now
And like West Side Gun
10.
didn't say shit. He just changed the name to 10 and kept it pushing. Right? Like
So-
there was, and I think that is the same way I think like him keeping his relationship with Conway the Machine going forward is like emblematic.
I want to say something.
Yeah.
He could have named it Hitler Wears Yeezy, and it would have worked just as well.
Yeah, that's funny.
No, I liked it. I liked it.
Yeah, no, 10 is.
I liked it.
Hitler
Okay.
Wears Yeezy would be a great like
Now-
follow up. I would love that. Like that look.
Brandon, I have a legitimate concern then, based off of what you just said, because
Okay.
I think this does matter. West Side Gun comes from a very specific background and upbringing.
What do you? Oh, yeah. An upbringing that is
Oh, no.
routinely the most popular subject in multiple decades of hip hop.
Yes.
But yes,
100%.
yeah.
So, with that being said, because with that upbringing, it is kind of a more old head. I think it's fair to say at this point, an upbringing like that might be something more traditional that you hear for like a 90s rapper or
Yeah.
something of that.
But
fact.
But I'm sure you're familiar with the idea that culture is cyclical.
Yes. But I'm
Yeah.
saying, do you think because when you become the most influential rapper, you deal with very different people, different issues, and like as unpolitically correct as hip hop is, you have to be politically correct
Sure.
if you're going to be a star.
There's a sense of skill.
Right. I'm not saying West Side Gun is a bad person or not
Yeah.
a politically correct person, but it's a very different thing to deal with Twitter fingers than deal with the issues that West Side Gun faces.
And
Well,
that's-
can you
I
be a
just
bit
wanna
more?
say-
Are you talking about like his criminal past?
That's what I'm saying. West Side Gun,
See,
the issues that he has dealt with is a much more serious, like real life.
Yeah,
out of
it's a-
the
I
mud
think you could say
not
that.
Twitter social media issues.
That's also
Well,
part of why.
one, I would say I would not qualify what Kanye does as Twitter social media issues. I would say that they are genuine political issues.
Okay, but the way you think about Kanye in today's age, Kanye in what he tweets and what he Instagrams and what he does online is significant. Obviously,
Sure,
you can't
but,
say
like-
I don't like Jews, but like
Yeah, but
how
like
the
that's not
internet
a social
approaches it.
media issue. And I think the fact of the matter is, and this one I'm just gonna have to cite the historical record. I don't think anyone has ever given a shit about that in the history of hip hop. Right? Like,
what do you mean?
well, like I don't like look like yes, he has like a criminal background, but nothing that Eazy-E didn't have.
That's not what I mean.
What do you mean?
And if we are going to take that approach, it does matter because they didn't have the internet back then. So I think that doesn't count either. But I wasn't taking that approach.
Oh, what were you talking about? So like maybe be a little bit more direct because I might be on the spectrum.
How West Side Gun can handle being politically correct in today's society within social media, I don't know how he could handle certain controversy as well as other people can.
And
Well,
it
like
also-
I think like sure, but why don't we look at things that have actually happened? And I think like looking at what happened with Hitler Wears Hermes 10, I think is a good example of how he handles himself. We shouldn't do
that's-
this. We shouldn't do this speculation based on his personality. We should look at his actual actions because that's what's going to actually happen. He wasn't on Twitter pissing and moaning about how he had to ruin his mixtape stuff.
That's
he
what I'm
wasn't.
saying.
Yeah, he
I'm
he
not
just
saying
pushed it. Like he just.
okay, that's something easy. Any artist can just change the name of their album. That's not something that requires a deep intellectual thought that you're getting questioned on. You
Yeah.
can just change the name of an album. If someone is in West Side Gun's face with a camera like paparazzi, I don't think
I
he
don't
would
think
handle
anyone
it as
get.
well
Yeah,
as
I
they
don't
are.
think anyone gives a shit about that. People didn't give a shit about it when Kanye did it. I don't think people give a shit about it when anyone does
People
it.
did give a shit when Kanye did it.
I mean,
That's
So,
when
gra-
Kanye
so,
got
so
canceled
grab those
multiple
reporters
times.
so I can smash their recorders.
no,
Like, I
that
understand it
that is
doesn't matter
honestly
in a
not
long
something.
fight, but it-
When you say a Kanye West controversy, I would if you held a gun to my head and said, "I'm thinking of a Kanye West controversy," name
There's
it.
so many, but
You
he
would
has
ne-
handled
I would
so
never-
many poorly.
I would never. But I guess like And look, this could be a blind spot because I think what paparazzi do is gross and invasive and like kind of deserves that reaction. But also like West Side Gun isn't dating Kardashians, which is a huge factor in this.
Valid.
I understand he does avoid
like
a
and
lot
like
of
look,
that crap.
yeah,
but
he does
like,
avoid.
I'm just saying, if you're in the if you're in the limelight, like,
and the thing,
it's naturally just going to come.
I don't think we should assume that's going to come the way of different Kanye, because Kanye put himself in celebrity circles, not just cultural circles. And I think and I don't think those are the same thing. I don't think
they're not the same thing.
Yeah,
but
and I do not
it's
think
expanding past Kanye, because at this point, because the internet is so involved in everything we do, I understand this is about Kanye, who's replacing Kanye, but any major artist right now, there's no privacy. There's no.
But you say major artist, this guy has 2 million streams. You don't think he might be facing some of that now?
You called Nav not major. He has more streams.
No, I didn't say he's not major. I said he's bad and like a bad artist. And I don't think his numbers help his case. Like,
I think an argument that might be more valid for a challenge West Side Gun might face in terms of scope is also just subject matter, right? Because like, there's a reason I didn't pick Pusha T, even though I think Pusha T is one of the most.
This is actually something I've been wanting to say for weeks. I'm so happy no one picked Pusha T, because I feel like it's almost like, come on. Right.
Well, I don't think it's going to happen, because I think Pusha T, for as good as he is far too narrow in the topics that would appeal to a mainstream audience. And for that reason, like, you know, some of the criticism of him rapping about the same thing is kind of valid in that way, because he's not going to move outside of that smaller circle.
Yeah, but I think like if you look into West Side Gun's discography, you can find that variety. I mean, it was only like a month or two ago where Purvis mentioned this R&B artist he works with that I was even aware of, and that song, like Griselda produced, everything does not fit the trappings of a Griselda record. Sure. And you know, you look at even Fly God Jr. off 10, where he does the trap thing. And granted, he doesn't do the trap thing as good as Metro Boomin. No one does. Like, not even Travis Scott. Like,
it's very tough.
So,
I feel like,
and like, yeah, I think the thing is like, we shouldn't. One, I think the culture is going to be cyclical on the subject matter of it. Every 10 years or so, it becomes the favorite subject of the genre. It was the favorite subject in the late 80s, early 90s with NWA. It was the favorite subject in the early 2000s with 50 Cent. I don't think it's unreasonable to think that it could become the favorite subject again with Griselda.
I'm curious then, because we have the benefit of knowing Griselda.
No.
Like, I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, Griselda's one-dimensional, because I've had the opportunity to listen to so many different kinds of Griselda. But from an outside perspective, you have to build somewhere. You have to gain some form of fan base.
Yeah, and I think that's this year.
Do you think it'll be difficult for him to portray himself as a major artist past cocaine and ad-libs?
Well, I think as long as he like doesn't let up on the quality that he's bringing as the person in charge of everything, as the, you know, the man behind the throne. As long as he keeps doing that, I don't think it's people are gonna bother it. Also, like, you know, it's one thing to only be known for ad libs. It's another thing to only be known in a positive way for your ad libs. You know.
Oh yeah.
And the other thing is that, like, you know, I think you listen to his actual albums, I think it's clear that he has a lot more to offer than cocaine and ad libs. Right. I think you actually dive into the music. I think that, you know, that's like the same thing as saying, like, can Tyler the Creator do anything more than, you know, fuck people, burn shit, kill school or whatever?
Tyler.
Yeah, you know, like, I really do think it's the equivalent of that. So yeah, like, I think that's a reasonable question, but I think especially, you know, in the area we are now where we're having like a really serious re-looking at like the influences on hip hop, I think like something that invokes an older vibe, I wouldn't count it out. As a matter of fact, I'm willing to bet that it's going to get bigger and bigger, not the other way around.
I'm curious then, and this is
And then
my
this would
only
probably shouldn't move on.
Yeah, this is my last point.
Yeah.
Do you think he will have success in being able to separate himself from Griselda itself?
I think Griselda is a part of him. You know, I think.
Well, you didn't let me finish. Hold on.
Okay.
Because I don't think Griselda, him being Griselda is not bad. That's not what I mean.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a flaw for him. I'm just wondering, because again, we have to realize we're coming from a perspective that actually understands Griselda and understands the people in it. How will he separate himself from Kanye the Machine, and from Bodie James, from several other people within the label?
Oh yeah,
the Butcher.
And like, look,
how does he actually like? How can someone who doesn't actually know Griselda, who may not put in the exact same effort that we do, be like, this is Kanye the Machine, or this is West Side Gun?
I mean, I think I think the ad libs, I think, are the obvious thing. Like you can't say like, oh, he's just like, people only know him for his ad libs. It's like, well, then people are going to know when he's on a track.
I'm not gonna lie. There's times where I do not know which one is which.
That's
when
fair.
they're all on the track together.
That's
I
fair.
don't know which is which. And I've listened to a lot of Griselda.
I don't think that's unfair. I don't. But I think the thing is, one, I don't know if that's like a fair question, because I feel like you could say the same thing. Like, if someone wasn't going to invest in the difference, how are you going to show them the difference between Metro and Travis? You know, if someone was just going to mindlessly, without any sense of like curiosity, listen to this music, how do you handle, like, how are they going to tell those two apart? I think that's equally as valid. And I think the answer to that is because he's the one puppeteering the whole thing. Whether or not people are aware of it does not diminish the fact that everyone who is listening to the Conway, everyone who's listening to Benny, everyone who's listening to Armani Caesar, who I think is someone who's going to blow up pretty insanely, you know, that doesn't change the fact that his fingerprints are all over those albums, even if people are unaware of it, right? Like, I think that was one of the things that really helped Kanye, right? He was all over Pusha T. He was all over Big Sean. He was all over Kid Cudi for that period, right? His influence was there were tons of people who were unaware of their connections to Kanye and were still getting his influence. So I think West Side Gun could fit right in exact same way.
That's fair. I feel like the situation, since we are comparing it to Kanye, there's a lot more differentiation between good music than Griselda, I feel like.
I disagree. I completely disagree. I think if you listen, I think a Griselda song is way more identifiable in 2023 than good music was in 2012.
No, I mean between the artists. The difference
that part, yeah.
Big Sean and Tiana Taylor is gaps away from Armani Caesar and West Side Gun.
I mean, I do agree with, I disagree with that specific example. I agree with the overall point, though, that yes, there is a larger breadth of sonics on good music. I'll agree with that.
There was.
Yeah, there was. Yeah.
Emphasis on was.
Yeah. But I relinquish my time. My client, he's beaten cases before.
He has beaten cases before.
It's like, sir, do you have any comments you'd like to make to the press? Boom, 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 boom.
Yeah. Oh, and also he has his fingers in everything. Look, I'm not a fashion person. I'm wearing a Metallica t-shirt right now. But he has his hands all over fashion. He's literally working.
This is also true.
He's working like I think like as much as anyone else on this list. Like, maybe once again, I'm ignorant to the fashion world a little bit, but like
Tyler's way bigger at fashion, but he did significant in fashion.
I was gonna say,
he has some kind of connection with the Buffalo Bills, which I think is huge. I think sports is relevant. Yeah. That's real. And he also has he's like a partner at WWE now.
He has some very nice chains.
Yeah. And like
his MF Doom chain is fire.
And this is going to be my last point. I think he's going to have like this incredible, I think success in these ventures because he's only going into the shit he actually gives a fuck about.
Yeah.
Right? Like
there's a bit about him liking wrestling on his Wikipedia page.
Yeah.
Like it's something he's very invested in.
Yeah, he's very passionate about this stuff. And I think that's the thing I like about him.
I respect it.
All right.
I like West Side Gun a lot.
Yeah, everyone.
I like it a lot. No, as a pick, I like that a lot.
Yeah.
I think once he stops relying on Givenchy so much in his clothing, he'll really become more of a style icon, but he's getting there.
Yeah. And that's the thing. He's less of a person making fashion and more of a style icon.
That's fair.
That's fair.
Yeah.
All right, Jasper.
Yeah.
Shall we jump into Tyler?
By all means.
Okay, so talk about the good things of Tyler first. What made you pick him? What stands out above everyone else?
Honestly, I would say growth. And this is something we talked about when we did kind of like the career run through. The lows of Tyler's career relative to the highs, it's a linear relationship with time, which is really interesting. I don't think any other artist or very few other artists kind of exhibit this behavior where you see a very consistent level of growth and level of expansion where you listen to something like IFHY and it's like, wow, that was a pretty good song. And then you listen to something off of Igor or Call Me If You Get Lost or even Flower Boy, and you pick a track, any track, and you go back, you listen to IFHY again, or you listen to Bimmer, or just pretty much anything off of Wolf, and you're like, wow, this sounds simple in a way. There's been development, there's been growth, there's been learning, and his ability to pick up new techniques across, like inspired by different genres, inspired by different artists, working with Pharrell, for example, and being able to roll that in seamlessly to generate a sound that is both unique, but at the same time, like it feels new and different, but at the same time, it's very much his, and it could only be his, is a talent that very few people have, I think. And for me, that's really a big part of it, is to like, that's exactly what Kanye throughout his entire career was always about, right? You look at 2007, 2008, when Graduation was coming out versus, what was it, Curtis, the 50 Cent run at the time. You had one artist who was representative of everything currently present in the culture. The, bling era, 50 Cent, big chains, music videos, bombastic shit, whatever. As it was put on Eminem, blunts, 40s, and bitches. But then you have Kanye, who is trying to shift the paradigm of what hip-hop even is. And he does that with every single project. Tyler, to a lesser extent, is incorporates new sounds and new aesthetics within what I would consider to be poppier hip-hop still. It's not exactly super niche. It's somewhat niche. It's got like a very dedicated fan base, but it has pop appeal. And there are pop hits off of Igor just as much as there are deep cuts and like heavy bars. So in that way, you see he, just like Kanye, is kind of steering the ship in a way as far as like what influences and what trends start to emerge within the genre.
Honestly, I like that. I think that's a really good reason.
Yeah.
I'm curious then, because that was actually one thing I was wanting to talk about. As he's being the driver and as he's creating new sounds, like you said, there automatically is naturally going to become a pop feel to the genre, or the pop feel to his music specifically. This is surprisingly the exact opposite take that I was going to take with the West Side Gun opinion. Do you think he branches too far away from what is considered traditional hip hop?
I don't think so. No. I think that he does a very good job of retaining a base in hip hop where everything that he does lyrically is very much rooted in hip hop or 90s R&B or R&B in general, or draws from that same kind of stem culturally and then musically. But then he does a very good job of incorporating his influences in a way that makes it feel like a finished or polished product. And it's a lot like how Kanye incorporated soul sampling and made that into its own almost genre or subgenre of hip hop, where it was like, hey, the soul sample is the backbone of this piece. You look at stuff like Earthquake, it's like there's a little bit of rap on there. You keep going further down, you get to, we got, I think, all the way down into what is it, like What's Good, and you really get down to, hey, here's like heavier, faster lyricism. We're getting to that point. It's just a matter of blending it with other styles that he's picked up along the way and kind of made his own.
Mm-hmm. No, it's valid. I think the biggest thing before I get to my second point, Brandon, did you want to talk about Tyler first?
Well, I guess like my first point is because I kind of fall from a similar point as you, because pretty well recorded on the show. I am on the I really didn't catch the first half of Tyler's career, and revisiting it, it's not really for me, right?
Agreed.
And yeah, no, he has absolutely completely reinvented himself and how he the kind of music he's making now is very, very different. Like the creative is very, very different from what he was making. But I wonder, is it so different culturally? And the thing that's interesting is like I have a very specific connection with Tyler because Tyler was like the first artist who came out who mainly appealed to people who are younger than me. I was like 21 when Tyler hit the scene, and like he was big with like 16, 17-year-olds. And like the difference
Tyler is your Travis. Like how for us it's Travis.
Yeah. And it's like 100%. And like, look, I see that he has evolved as an artist and is like making much different, much better work. But is he still filling that cultural space that he did during the Goblin Wolf era? I think he is. And I think that like as long as he stays that Tyler the Creator, I don't know if he can become anything else.
I don't know. That's tough.
I think
that's tough.
I think the harder you're rooted into your identity, the harder it is for people to see you as something new, right?
That's totally valid.
Which is why one of the motivations that went into picking West Side Gun, because I think he's instantly like recognizable, but most people don't know him, right? He has room to become the next Kanye in people's minds, right?
That's fair.
Some people might call what Tyler has a legacy, which is what it actually is. But in this context, it might better be described as baggage.
It definitely could be. I think it's tough though, because
I wouldn't call it baggage personally.
When you look at his,
I wouldn't either. Like if we're having an honest conversation about
but
Tyler,
for devil's advocate.
But I think if we're having an honest conversation about Tyler the Creator, I wouldn't call it baggage. But if we're talking about his ability to become something larger, I think it could be.
So, and to that point, I would say I think that the way he handles his own discussion of that is very important, because he's the first one to say, like, man, I hated that shit I was making back then, and I like the new stuff I'm making more now. He's very deliberate in distancing himself from what he identifies as being past work. So in a lot of ways, I think that his retention of that and his similarity with that, or I guess connection to that, is in name only, just in his name, Tyler the Creator, as opposed to really musically or even in terms of his subject matter or identity as an artist. And with that, like, I don't know, I think that just the success of Flower Boy, and then coming back to it because it's kind of like the keystone right now, especially Igor. You look at the numbers that Igor put up, and you look at just what a kind of pop success, just I guess general like popular music success that it was as a project. And it really makes you wonder, like, hey, is this, if you knew who Tyler was when golf came out, or when Goblin came out, you probably know, or when Wolf came out, you probably know, you're probably familiar with the fact that Igor exists. So in that way, I think anybody who does have that kind of familiarity can't help but kind of look at the new identity and see how it differs and see where, in many ways, it's an artist reinvented.
Yeah, I guess like what I'm talking less about is less about his identity and more of like the place he holds in the listener's mind and heart. Like
Right.
when I think about Tyler the Creator, I see rebellious 16-year-olds, and that's what I always saw when he dropped. And like, look, the music is much different. I don't deny that. I love his new stuff, but it's still music, especially Igor, for rebellious 16-year-olds. You know what I mean? Yeah, and like, look, I think his audience has grown to include people like me, pretentious 30-year-olds, but I don't think I still think it's for that group. You know what I mean? And Tyler really made an impact there, like debatably more than Kanye did. Like in that specific group, you know.
So then the real question we should be asking then is, who is Kanye for?
See, that's totally different.
I don't think it is, but I don't think it is, because if we're comparing the two and we're saying, is it possible for Tyler to be the next Kanye? We have to understand who Kanye made music for if Tyler's going to cater to that. We have to have a context.
I feel like the old Kanye and new Kanye is way more different than the old Tyler and new Tyler.
Yeah,
which is shocking to say.
Well, not even like creatively. I think about like
what it's made for.
The thing about
the story behind it.
Realistically, I think the thing is that like Kanye made music for everybody, and I don't think anyone that we're picking is currently at that level where they're making music for everybody. Because like it was supposed to work on everything from like car radios to stadiums. Right. Literally. And like, look, it's not that like, I think he is still the same person who made Goblin or anything. It's just that I think the kind of people who gravitated to that music, that audience is still his main audience. And I don't think there's anything bad with that from a creative perspective. I just think like it's a reality, and like, you know, it's a factor on whether or not he's going to be able to ascend to this role.
That's definitely true.
It's like, to use a really shitty superhero perspective, it's like when they tried to make Spider-Man the new Iron Man. It's like he's not. He's Spider-Man, and no amount of armor will make him Iron Man.
Yeah,
you know,
that's the
like
reason he's Spider-Man.
But
you know?
and that kind of comes back to the point that I closed my opening with, which was like, does it really matter if Tyler's the next Kanye? Because does he really want that?
Yeah. Well,
is the identity that he's crafting for himself one that in any way even aligns with who Kanye was?
Very
in
Kanye
the face of pop
sure,
culture.
Sure. And like, look, if I can right now, I can provide to you what the argument I think Tyler is going to be. An argument for Tyler in this one is that if he keeps making music the way he is now, is the culture just going to put the crown on his head whether he wants it or not?
I think so.
You know,
that's fair.
And
dude, the fact that he has a line from Estate Sale, I got the jelly bean Kelly Green rolls, inside's white like a jalapeno, is literally the I push Miracle Whips line, just for a new generation. Like, there are parallels.
Yeah, no, I definitely think there are parallels. It's just that I definitely think there are people who I worry about the normies, you know, like I wonder if, because like, no, look, how many memes on Facebook do you see from uninteresting white women in their mid-20s that's like listening to gangster rap on my way to my customer service job, right? Like gangster rap sells to normies. Trap sells to normies. I don't know if Tyler the Creator does. And I think that's something that
I remember seeing Earthquake on like so many Vines.
Was Earthquake?
I think
it was TikTok.
Viral videos. Yes, it was like there are songs that
sure,
are
but Earthquake is the exception though.
Right, and that's valid. And
like
I'll give you that.
Yes, I will give you that. Like that, he absolutely.
That's an exception.
Yeah, but that's an exception, and like it's less about like his actual music and more about like the paintbrushes he's working with and less the painting he's making, right?
That is literally what I was about to say, because that was going to be my second point. Is literally is Tyler too weird? And I know this doesn't have to do with music, and that's unfair for him. But in reality, your personality is half your music, and we've talked about that with the AI conversation. I love Tyler the Creator.
Yeah,
I don't think the world is ready to love Tyler the Creator.
Yeah, no, Tyler's
the hip hop.
Why'd you make that music? To piss old white people off like you in that fucking interview?
That's what I'm saying. But like specifically the hip hop world, a lot of older people, specifically that community, would not accept Tyler.
I remember we talked about this with Isaac.
Yeah.
So like a lot of them are discovering them, and I'm glad for them, and I love that. But like, are we really as progressive as we say we are?
I don't think it's a question of progressive. I think it's a question of like, is he just alienating?
Are you mean
just like, is he too weird? Like, is he too weird? Like, is he just going to turn people off with his weirdness?
Right? I don't think it's accept.
I think there are going to be plenty of people
other than the status quo.
But that's what I'm saying. Because you said he has a nail polish, and so does Lil Yachty, and we know how we all feel about like a lot of people in the hip hop community. Men don't really want to wear nail polish.
Yeah.
If we're being honest.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to go down that route.
And people judge him for that.
No, that's definitely, yeah. And like...
And I don't think it's fair. I don't agree with it, but I'm saying that's a real thing.
I think it's less that and more just like, he's a very eccentric person. He's almost like a Wes Anderson. And it's just like, when you have so much style, you know, you're going to turn some people off. Right,
that's valid.
Like that's just
true.
Like
that's
that,
true.
You know, and
people didn't like Prince like that,
and all, and
that's a hella style.
And like, look, I think you can launder like innovation through tradition in a way. I think like the way, you know, West Side Gun mixes a lot of like modern drums with like the boom bap sound. I think the way Metro Boomin helped bring trap into the 2010s, right? I think there's absolutely things that you can do, but it's, you know, is that alienating to a sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think we are at kind of a tipping point where the general culture is, as it continues to get younger, continues to be more accepting of that. I think it's a matter of time. I think time will tell if it actually happens, but I think as early as 2017, when you saw the barrage of new SoundCloud rappers, you had everybody from X to Trippie Redd to like
a lot of people.
Yeah, even like 21 Savage and people like that who are like Lil Uzi, who are like really blowing up at that time. Face tats. You have like multicolored hair. You've got nail polish, and like stuff like that is infiltrating because of the influences that a lot of these artists have. There's a lot of emo, a lot of pop punk, a lot of things like that that are influencing the aesthetics and also the style of music in that time frame. So I think you have a more open, younger generation of fans who are going to embrace that. To the extent to which they embrace it and the extent to which they kind of seek to make someone like Tyler the Creator a figurehead in the culture like Kanye, I think we're gonna have to wait and see.
Yeah, no, I think like it's fair to say it's a wait and see for all three of us, right?
Oh yeah.
And like, look, I may have given away the goat when I said like, look, if Tyler keeps making music like this, people might just put the crown on his head and not give him a fucking.
No, yeah, absolutely.
You know,
and it won't be a conversation.
And he is like the closest to having that. It's just like, you know, I think he has some baggage that may be keeping him from it. You know, he might not be able to cross the finish line, and like, we shouldn't ignore it. You know, that's the way I see it. Is that like, I feel like West Side Gun is like several yards behind Tyler the Creator, but I don't know if West Side Gun's going to have someone keeping him from going over that finish line.
Especially not himself.
Yeah,
that's the biggest part.
Yeah, and like, look, I would want people to. I would want Tyler's personality to be more popular. I think he's cool.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I think he's cool and also super smart, especially about creative stuff. I think he's an intelligent dude. So like, I think he represents a lot of the best of the genre right now. But he's
also just a really good dude, which I know is it's weird to look over, but like being a good person matters a lot.
Yeah, I know, and like especially handling this kind of mantle, because like
Right.
you're gonna be scrutinized to shit.
Every little flaw people will point out.
Yeah, but I don't know. I like dude. I just have some
Whatever.
concerns.
A video that lives rent free in my mind is when there's a pause between songs at a show, and he's like, "Do you have a book? Give me that fucking book." And he like takes a book from a fan and he starts reading it aloud. He's like, "No, stop. Don't boo this motherfucker yet." And he like starts reading he like reads the title, turns it over, starts reading the back. Halfway through reading the back goes, "Bitch, this book is trash," and throws it back to him and goes, "Call on names." And shit like that. And just
Who
like
brings
that.
a book to the concert?
Yeah.
Well,
no,
that's the whole thing with like
that's
Tyler
his
fans.
fan
Like
base.
they bring weird shit on purpose to try and get him to like ad lib
Oh,
and
yeah.
like just go off on stage. Like some guy threw his ID up there.
Yeah,
Jesus Christ.
and like
This is one of the
that's-
best ones. He's like,
that's-
"Who's this motherfucker with the fucking slave name?" He's
I
like,
I
"Who's
love it.
named Langston?"
Look, I saw a Reddit thread the other day, and it was like, what are your positive and negative interactions with celebrities?
Oh
And
God.
like one of the ones, no, this is good. It was like, Tyler the Creator will always make time to talk to his fans, unless but don't bother him when he's eating. Like it's
Yeah.
like he will fucking explode on you, and he'll come and apologize. And
Yeah.
like
Right.
it was like a dozen people chimed in, like, "Yep, I talked to Tyler while he
Confirmed.
was eating. He yelled at me, and then he came by and said sorry for yelling." And like, and like,
That reminds
Almost
me
makes
of
it worth it.
yeah,
That reminds me of the Chicago one that happened recently,
Yeah.
or not recently. It was like it gained steam a few years ago, where it was like this guy went to Big and Little's after a Cubs game and was sitting there with his buddy, and they like had gotten food and were just sitting in the restaurant. Bill Murray walks in, sees there's a long line, turns around and looks at them, grabs a handful of fries off his plate, eats them, says, "No one will believe you," and walks out the door.
that's what he does. That's what he does. He goes into places and does that.
No
Yeah.
one will believe you.
Uh,
No, I get that.
okay, pause. I'm gonna go use the bathroom before we start Metro.
Okay.
This is an extra long episode. We are at 2.5 hours.
Jesus.
I will not keep mine long.
No, this is good. No, this has been a really great episode, though. Wow. What up, gross boys? Where's Purvis? You fucking goon.
Jesus Christ.
All right.
Nice.
Movie magic. All right.
All right.
Purvis, if Young Metro don't take the stand, I'ma sue you.
All right. Good transition. But yeah, I did Metro Boomin as my person. Just to go off, I guess, the positive things first, and the reason that I pick him, some points that stand out to me. I've been thinking a lot about the hip hop genre, and how it started to expand within so many different subgenres, and the emphasis on just the sound within itself. Obviously, I feel like of any genre, lyrics is the most important thing.
Mm-hmm.
But if you speak to any artist within the genre, the production is what you can't mess up.
Yeah.
You there's so much emphasis on trap beats and 808s and the different sounds and ad libs and samples and just how the song is all tied together. It matters so much within the industry right now. And in terms of what is considered pop music, has completely changed because pop just means whatever's popular, I feel like. And I feel like right now, the emphasis on what you hear on the radio, the emphasis of what you hear at a club is focused on trap hip hop. And I feel like he is the face in terms of creating a sound that is what is defined as hip hop right now.
He created the bass, like the bass level for trap. Like
exactly
as people understand it. Everything is either doing him or doing a subversion of him.
Exactly. And all of it plays into it. And I think he has one of the best tags out there. And as he's starting to expand within his career, I'm starting to realize how important he actually is within the music that is actually driving the culture. I feel like in terms of what is mass produced to the public and what is actually listened to by the average consumer would be something that he has either created or has influenced. All of the biggest titles out there, whether it be Tuesday, Jumpman, Low Life, Bad and Bougie, Mask Off, Congratulations, like any major song right now that you know of, he's probably the one that produced it.
Yeah, no, it's true.
And I think that speaks a lot of volume in the fact that he can not only take an average career and make it better. There's so many examples. I'm not saying that we wouldn't have a 21 Savage without Metro Boomin, but he definitely helped him a lot.
I think 21 Savage is like maybe one of those questionable, like maybe we wouldn't have. I think there are plenty of artists he's worked with that did not rely on
amplified. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, Future,
great example.
Young Thug, it just intensifies what they're already putting out. Migos, Nav, literally, honestly, like if you go down the list, he has influenced so many people that we listen to, including the older generation. He came up with Gucci Mane. He's influenced Juicy J. He's worked with Lil Wayne. Like, if I was to read the list in front of me, it would take me a minute.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that he has worked with and a lot of different sounds that he's touched. And I feel like in terms of the face of production, it is Metro Boomin. And so I think that alone, considering how Kanye started out as a producer and slowly worked his way into his own music, I feel like Metro Boomin, if he so desired, he could very easily already have the fan base and the talent to go into it because he knows music.
Yeah. At the risk of giving you an argument, I think he has like this massive unconscious listener base because like he has produced all the biggest hits, even if people don't know him, which with that tag, it's kind of hard to ignore. But like, you know, like it's not on Heartless. Like,
that's true.
But my question for you is, let's look at Metro's career for the last 10 years, right?
Okay.
Where do you see him growing to become this role? Because, look, of cards on the table, I think Metro Boomin is the most interesting pick out of all of these. Because, but I think there's something to be said that, like, if he was going to be the next Kanye, he would be it by now. Like,
that is fair.
I think that's an argument to be made. So, like, where do you see him going forward? I think the path forward is the clearest for Westside Gunn and Tyler, the Creator.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree with that 100%. I feel like for Metro Boomin, in terms of how does he accomplish this next step, I feel like very similar to Westside Gunn, where he has that brain capacity space for a lot of listeners who just still not know him, who realize who he is. He can develop his own path.
I agree with that for sure.
Yeah. I feel
he's
like
certainly a lot of room in here for Metro Boomin.
100%. And that's the thing with Metro Boomin. I think out of any producer that could create his own career, if he's went through the path of rapping, it would be him. And even if he doesn't take that path, I'm completely okay with that. I would actually prefer it because I feel like because of what we discussed last week, there are so many producers out there going back to like the 1980s or even further back. There's never been a discussion on greatest of all time producer, like a real discussion that people continually.
It's nowhere near as prevalent as like the greatest of all time rapper.
Yeah,
exactly.
But does there really need to be?
I think it
does. There need to be for rappers?
That's true.
It depends on who you like, I guess.
Yeah, I think
so that's what I'm saying. I feel like as the sound develops and the fact that he has influenced so much, if he was to put his name out there where people are demanding him to be on the feature list while you listen to the album, when you pull up Spotify and you see his name, things like that, and actually consider producers to be a force, I think this could honestly be a gateway and could be huge for production as a whole. And I know I'm thinking much big brain, larger scale kind of concept.
I think that's the kind of thinking this episode needs.
Right? But I feel like of anyone that would be capable to do it, obviously there's so many other great producers out there that has existed within the hip hop genre since its creation.
Yeah.
But there's no greater time than now with the internet as prevalent as it is and the influence that he has behind him already. He can start the conversation of now we need to discuss and take into account who's the GOAT producer.
I mean, like, that's a really good argument, man. Like, my only thing is that, like, that's huge. That's a paradigm shift in the culture. And, like, hey,
it would change
if
everything.
Anyone could do it, I think you made a really good argument for Metro Boomin being the one who could. And it's a paradigm shift I support. So, like, oh man, I don't even know if I want my own guy anymore. Like,
that's what I'm saying. Like, I can't prepare because I was thinking about it after we saw Air. It's so important where, like, you look at the past and how people have grown. The fact that Jordan was one of the first contracts where the athlete is getting paid, and now every single sport that we watch, every contract we know, athletes are getting paid.
Yeah,
this is exactly what this could be.
Yeah, no, it definitely is true. Jasper, do you have?
I mean, I agree. It's one of those things where the reason I said that I don't know if it's necessary to have the conversation around producer like there is for rappers or artists in general is because I think Metro Boomin stands so far removed from everybody else. If you look at it from a numbers game, you look at it from just like an influence game, nobody else carries the same influence over the genre or carries the same weight in terms of what it means when you hear their tag. The second closest I could think of is Pierre Byrne, and that's a distance. That's a distant second.
It's a very
and he just created his own
maybe
like where he's rapping.
yeah, especially and
the
modern
other thing,
ones. Like there are ones that are older than Metro.
Yeah,
like Pharrell, but no one who's come after.
Pierre, so yeah, Pharrell is interesting because he's also an actual, like, he actually is the artist as well, right? So there's a bit of a
Yeah.
there's a bit of like a gray area there as far as like to what extent is Pharrell an influential producer versus his image as an artist also overshadowing and impacting like the power and the status of his career. Um, as far as like Pierre Byrne being a distant second, another differentiating factor is that when Metro puts out a full album with other people, that album is generally critically acclaimed. Pierre's solo projects have not been that.
They are not. They don't compare. If I'm being honest, I've listened to all of them. They just don't.
And like qualitative and quantitative, like it seemed like Metro Boomin, and look, I'm not gonna lie, the first Metro Boomin, the first Heroes Don't Wear Capes, I was like, how's this guy gonna do it? But he did because he has contacts with everyone in everyone in the culture.
Yeah, that was a project that I think aged very well.
Yeah.
In hindsight, like I didn't love all of it initially when I heard it, and I don't know if it's like every track for me is like a 10, but there are a lot of songs off of there that I continue to come back to and are on regular rotation. Overdue is like one of my favorite, just like out of nowhere tracks from like
it's a really good track.
Yeah. any project, yeah, so good.
No, I agree fully.
Yeah, I guess the only consideration I would have for like, is it possible to be Kanye is if it is, why hasn't he done it already given his almost over 10 years worth of time
shaping an industry, right? Like
as a producer.
You got to admit, like it's kind of like funny that we're not talking about like, oh, Metro Boomin is the next Kanye. And because like one thing I want to put out here, and like this is another weapon like you can use, is that I think he need not be the guy in the front and center, but he needs to be the guy pulling all the strings behind it, which 100%. He is, and that makes me think like, and look, there could just be like, well, because he was competing with Kanye, you can't grow into that niche when it's filled, but I think that argument certainly exists in a way that doesn't for Tyler and Westside. And
I think that's fair.
I think another thing is, as much as production is like a super overlooked aspect of the entire process of making music, I think it's fair to say that he is more dependent on other artists than Tyler and Westside Gunn. He still has to rely on The Weeknd coming in and giving a great performance. He has to rely on other albums that he only has to other albums that he does not have huge fingerprints on, like serving his songs correctly, right? Like think of how well After Hours serves Faith.
Right.
And it's
I think 3,500 would not be a hit if Travis Scott didn't have that chorus. Even though that is a banger of a song, like of a track, it wouldn't be anything without Travis coming over the top and delivering that performance.
Yeah, and like you can obviously say it about artists and everyone, but Tyler and Westside certainly look over the process from end to end.
Yes.
So in terms of like answering what you were saying there, I feel like he has the benefit. So the first thing is, why isn't he Kanye already? Honestly, I feel like that more has to do with the industry than him himself, because we've already discussed that producers have always been overlooked in the industry. So understanding that could be a caveat for him, and that's not really fair in comparison to Tyler or Westside Gunn, but that is the reality. If he hasn't gotten the shine that he's deserved, it's not his fault.
Sort of.
Be honest.
It's not the way it used to be.
Yeah.
The role of producer is not really like a dirty word anymore like it was in the early 2000s. I think there was very much a tonal shift after Kanye being the one to bridge that gap, right? But I think the important part is the fact that Metro doesn't rap. Like he doesn't contribute more to the music that he makes other than the background and the instrumentation. He's not contributing the actual subject matter, and that's where I think there's a deficiency.
Well, from what I hear Metro is often in the studio crafting songs with the artists he's working with.
Sure,
So
but he's not the one delivering. So
yeah,
without his voice being on the track, how is it for people for normies? How
Right.
is it? How easy is
How
it
you
to
know it's him?
keep Metro like in presence of mind? Where is he positioned in the mind of the listener? Right. That's the question that becomes prevalent. Or
I
like
think it's in that 6 second tag, and
exactly.
and
And
like
it's like if unless he's the one rapping and delivering the content himself verbally, I don't think there's a way for him to maintain the attention of a broad audience like that. And I think that's the deficiency.
I think that's a very valid argument, and I honestly like I said at the beginning of the argument, I feel like obviously going within hip hop, the lyrics is what matters,
Yeah.
and it always will be because that's
right.
how the genre is set up, and I think
Mhm.
that's completely fair. I also feel like it works in his benefit. It's almost like a blessing and a curse because he does not have that responsibility, nor does he feel entitled or feel the burden of having that responsibility.
Sure.
As much as he does rely on an artist to perform with great lyrics, they rely on him just as much to produce an actual beat.
That's
And I
true.
feel like it's much easier to do a bad lyric than it is to do a bad beat, in my personal opinion.
Yeah, it's certainly more.
Wait,
Someone like Future is going to deliver
do you
bad
mean
verses more often than someone like Metro Boomin's going to deliver
Right.
bad
per
production. But
Purvis, do you
yeah,
mean the other way around? Like as a producer, because it's more technical, it's like easier in general to make a bad beat? Or do you mean like it's easier for Metro to make a good beat than it is for somebody else to deliver a good verse?
When I say that, I feel like in terms of the possibility or at least the frequency that we're hearing the song,
Hmm.
it's much more likely for, like you said, Future, for example, because he works with Future a lot. It's much more likely to hear a Future verse and be like, okay,
Questionable.
than for you to be like, hear Metro Boomin's tag and then the actual like beat be like, what is this? Like,
yeah,
I've never heard
Yeah.
Metro Boomin on a track and then being like, this isn't a good beat. Like,
The fact that you just said future specifically for like lyrics that are like okay
well,
reminds me of that Kodak Black video where he calls him, "Hey bro, what you mean with this right here?"
but that's what I'm saying. I just feel like in general, even though he just takes benefit of this being the nature of the beast, so it may
Yeah.
not be him like flexing, oh, Metro Boomin can do this. Any producer can do this. But it's just the nature of the beast where you're gonna get a bad lyric eventually from these artists. You're
yeah.
not really gonna get a bad beat, or it won't have as negative as an effect. I would say if you hear a bad snare compared to like an entire bad verse.
Sure.
I agree with that part for sure.
Right.
Yeah, I definitely agree with like some of the thinking along those lines. I think like Metro Boomin is just maybe more than the other two feels like a consummate professional.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like he shows up and he does the job.
Shows up in a suit
Yeah.
to the studio.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna make the beat.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I mean, I just wonder like where does he go from here? That's like my main criticism of Metro
Mhm.
Boomin, right?
Completely
Because
fair.
like, and the other thing is, I think he is a trap sound in a trap environment, and I think as huge as he is, I don't think he has the novelty to bring that kind of attention on him. You
Mhm.
know, but yeah, no, I mean, he's one of the best.
You
Yeah.
know what? I think he suffers. I think as a producer, he suffers a little bit from that Saving Private Ryan syndrome I'm always talking about. Where like
What's
because
that?
he is so one with the sound that it almost comes off as in a way generic because of how
I kind of feel that, yeah,
just in how intensely intertwined his career is with the prevalence of trap as the
no,
popular subgenre right now. It's like
Mhm.
because he is the sound of modern trap, that kind of base level is a little bit boring and it's been done.
and
And now
there's
people are iterating on that. Now there's like the rage sound and people like Filthy and like all these other producers who are
yeah,
going out and really like building on top of that. And I think for that reason, it's like he's super influential and he continues to make good tracks, but a lot of it is kind of boilerplate when you look at where
yeah,
the music, where the sound is right now.
yeah, and I would
Mhm.
definitely say like there's a lot more like direct influence that Metro Boomin has than the other two.
Mhm.
But I think there's also a lot more just like very derivative, mediocre Metro Boomin ripoffs. Well, then there's not a lot of people like doing old boom bap soul samples and doing it poorly. You
Correct.
know, there aren't a lot of people.
Logic. No, I'm just
Oh.
playing.
Don't talk about my doppelganger.
Yeah.
But I
and
do know
like-
what you mean.
and
I do
like,
know what you mean.
You know, I think Tyler has so few imitators, almost to the point where you can question his influence. Like,
That is true. How
like-
many people can be Tyler?
yeah, like
though?
how many people can be Tyler? So I think that's the rub with Metro Boomin. I think like when he brought up like the whole like there's space, he's in that LP position where he has the clout, he has the space to move into, but like there just is the question of like why hasn't he yet?
Right. Or where do you go?
Yeah,
No, that's valid.
guys, do you have?
Before we wrap,
Okay.
he has such a large
If
discography.
this is a
such,
meme.
such a
Okay.
breadth. I want to know. Let me get one of your favorite Metro produced songs and one that you think is overlooked or underrated.
Oof.
Hold on. Give me a second. Give me a
Yeah,
second.
I would have to look into that. Okay, best Metro produced song?
Your favorite, or one that you really like.
Doesn't matter. Same one. Ric Flair Drip.
That's a really good one.
Off
Actually.
Without
valid.
Warning.
Yeah.
100% the best Metro Boomin song. Maybe the best song. I think it should replace the Pledge of Allegiance. Like,
Oh, dude, that's really hard.
And then while Purvis is struggling, Brandon, if
Jesus
you can
Christ.
bless us with one that you think is overlooked or underrated.
I'm also going to say Ric Flair. No.
That'd be pretty good, actually.
I kind of want to be honest. Fuck, man, it's so hard. It's really hard for me because I listen to a lot of Metro Boomin because I listen to a lot of hip hop.
Yeah.
So
Kind of comes with the territory.
yeah, so it's like I don't see a lot of stuff I instantly recognize. And like easily my favorite off his last one was the one Too Many Nights, but that's like his fourth most listened to song. So yeah, I'm also gonna say Ric Flair Drip. More people should know about it. I don't know
Nice.
how many people know about it, but it should be more.
I'm surprised it's not a Pusha T song, given that it talks about Ric Flair.
Yeah.
Jasper, do you want to go or do you want me to go?
No.
I'll go, unless you've got yours.
You go. I have mine, but you go.
So one of my favorites is classic Mamacita off of Days Before. And one that I think is overlooked or underrated is X, not the Savage and Metro Boomin Savage Mode X, but Lil Uzi Vert Love Is Rage 2.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, yeah.
Which is one of only 5 times that Metro Boomin and Pierre Byrne have come together and co-produced a track.
Mm.
So you get
That's
both
a
their
dangerous
you get-
combination.
You get both their tags, and you get the alternate Boomin tag, which is the one where it's Young Thug, and he just goes Metro. So it's like the funny little alternate, and that beat goes hard for like as kind of laid back as it is.
Yeah.
It's got like a little like whistle on it, almost super solid.
Purvis,
Okay.
give your two, then we're gonna conclude the debate.
Yes. I think his best one, even though there's multiple people on it, 3500 with Travis Scott.
Yep.
Just everything about that song is phenomenal. And I think the beat does play into it a lot, where it actually speeds up and slows down and transitions. Jesus Christ. There's no flaws in that song in general. And I think the beat, along with this song and many others, has helped create Travis's sound,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
Yeah.
The
Valid.
biggest one that slept on, Dope Dealer by Schoolboy Q.
Oh, that's
You
a
know
good
I
one.
love me some Schoolboy
That's
Q.
a good one.
Bro, him and E40 did his thing, and just that beat in general is so nasty. Just the grimy, the fact that Metro has that dark sound that
Yeah.
a lot of producers don't have. We've talked about it. He needs to make a score for a horror movie. This is what it is.
Yeah, no, it's It's up there. Metro is. He wants some more. Do you guys remember the verbose meme where it just got longer and longer and longer?
Yes.
Like, that was my favorite. All right.
Also,
a hallmark of the late 2010s.
Okay.
All right.
Should
so
we do?
I think we've covered our arguments pretty thoroughly. We're at the 3-hour mark.
Yes,
I don't think we need closing arguments, but I will say my closing arguments is boom boom boom, do 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 do, and ayo. That's my closing argument.
Thank you for providing that for me. Okay, but I feel like I don't know if we can, but maybe we'll get Isaac on next week.
Yeah, I think I want to have Isaac be like
he'll be my
our little
while I'm gone.
The arbiter.
Yeah. Well, he could just send in like a little video, but tell him it has to be a video this time.
An actual video.
Yeah.
All right, for sure. Should we do recommendations?
Yeah, let's do recommendations.
But well, I guess I'm ready because I have this thing up.
Go ahead.
My first one gonna be an artist that I actually I've had her saved for a very long time, but it was just in my album queue. I hadn't gotten to it. Amindi, I believe that's how you pronounce it, or Amindi. She's an up and coming artist. This album was phenomenal in my opinion. It's not long. It's easy to get through. It doesn't have that many listens, so real low key.
Ooh.
But the song "Great Again" is so good, and it's such a uplifting song. A very rare song about like actually getting over drug abuse. You don't hear about it a lot within, especially our genres that we listen to, but it's a very nice listen to of actually understanding and coping with trauma without drugs, which a lot of people don't talk about.
Yeah.
Well,
Jasper, you want to go?
Yeah, so my first one here, let me just make sure I haven't recommended it before. I haven't, but we did talk about it. We did mention it in passing in the past, and that's going to be Black Star by David Bowie.
Ooh, interesting. It's a really good song.
Super powerful song. I did put a link to the video in the Discord just because we were talking about it with that shameless G-Eazy clout grab. But very intense, very powerful opening track to the album of the same name. And it's not to spoil too much, but an album about him knowing that he has terminal cancer and basically what he's putting out into the world before he goes to the other side, pretty much. And like him knowing that. So it's some heavy stuff, but it's a powerful video, really, really good song, and very unique. It doesn't sound like anything else Bowie ever made. So
awesome.
Nope.
Yeah.
I like that.
All right, so this is a song. I'm recommending it because I'm revisiting that writing test that I went over for the SZA song a few weeks ago. And this is another song that is like a classic to me. It's a rock song. It's Re-Education Through Labor by Rise Against. Okay. And look, it's a hardcore punk song, and it goes so hard. But it's about a very complicated subject. It's about like the feelings of alienation and just complete loss of control that the working class feels. And like, I think when we talk about, you know, like what is like the theme, how is it delivered through the lyrics, and like how does that interface with each other? I think the fact that they're able to use like this high energy rock sound in order to like spoonful of sugar, this like really complicated emotion that like most academics struggle to like fully comprehend, right? Yeah. I think like being able to Trojan horse it in that way, I think is just a statement to like the power of songwriting. So, and it also goes super hard. It's a great song for when you're working out or playing a game where you shoot people.
All right, yeah. I like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Then my second song will be after I listened to the first song, it actually came up. The Spotify created its own like song queue list. I was in my little like soft bag apparently, but I discovered a new artist called Aryan Sun or something like that. A song called Concrete the actual like chorus is one of the best chorus I've heard this year, and just her voice is phenomenal. So I just wanted to shout out that artist as well. Much low key artist. It's from an EP that dropped, I want to say either this year or last year, and I think it's phenomenal. So that'll be my second one.
All right, my second song, something very different. I have not been able to get this song out of my head for like 2 weeks. It's I Don't Even Speak Spanish, LOL, by XXX Tentacion. Dude, this fucking track is such an earworm, and it gets me every time. The second it comes on with that like ukulele or guitar at the beginning, I just like can't get it out. And I fuck with the fact that he got like a bunch of really like smaller artists on this, and like just made something cool and totally different from the rest of the album.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna have to look this up. I don't know the artist that's on there.
Like, I'm not even kidding. They've got like 7,000 monthly listeners. A couple of them. It's like nothing.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. That is impressive. It's funny that you said that. I was listening to my like lo-fi podcast that I made years ago that I haven't gotten back to, and XXX came on, and I was like, he has some real like sad stuff.
He's got some really sad stuff, but so much of it is just like you listen to it. It's just like a lot of it's like so different. Like I think about the hits, but a lot of it's just like out there too, and I kind of respect that. How it's like it really goes in a direction you might not expect. So,
man,
solid listen.
Is strong. So
yeah,
they are scary.
I saw the tweet that got sent. I wouldn't.
I hate them. They are my alternate. They are
my address.
Yeah.
I would not call myself a fanatic by any stretch.
No.
I know that one album pretty well. I like a good number of songs off it, but I mess with this song. This is a fun song.
All right, so for me, my last song, I'm going to keep a tradition I accidentally started last year because I'm going to recommend a song by one of our favorite rappers who I share a birthday with. So I'm going to be recommending a song every year before my birthday. So I'm recommending Trouble on My Mind by Pusha T and Tyler, the Creator. Might have been recommended already, but it's my birthday. I don't give a shit. Me and Pusha T are birthday buds, so every year I'm going to recommend a Pusha T song.
I feel like we've definitely said that before.
Yeah. Well,
you recommended it once before.
Yeah, I don't give a shit.
Worth it. It's too good not to.
Yeah.
Probably on your birthday.
Because I actually looked back at it last year for my birthday. It was the Damn episode because Mr. Morale came on my birthday. And you were like, "Oh, let's get like who the 3 artists we want on that album," and I'm like, "Dude, I have a recommendation." I recommended a song that had Freddie Gibbs, Killer Mike, and Pusha T on it. So,
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, because those are the 3 artists I want to see Kendrick work with.
The collaboration.
Dude, do you have any idea how much dope those 3 businessmen could sell?
A lot. Like a scary amount.
That's Atlanta.
I'm just saying, Pusha T might have been one of the guys that they were shooting at in Good Kid, Mad City, for all we know.
Yeah.
Real. That's real.
But yeah, no, him and Harvey Keitel. We share a birthday, so
that is a goated list. Honestly, Harvey Keitel is a fucking badass.
Dude, he is a badass. Like,
for those who don't know,
he's the lead of my favorite movie of all time.
For any of our younger listeners, famous actor who worked a lot with Tarantino. Go watch Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, he's the wolf in Pulp Fiction,
and he's also in
he's in Reservoir Dogs. He's
he's Mr. White.
He's in a lot, yeah. All right, guys, this was a 3-hour podcast.
Told you it's gonna be long.
All right, everyone, say goodnight. I'm done. I'm so disheveled. Good night. Bye, everybody. Vote West Side Gun.
Thank you.